In New York's Manhattan, people gaze upward with worry. Boom. A massive monster falls from the sky, shaking the ground and startling everyone. Everyone's shocked. It's the behemoth. A message window pops up. Please eliminate behemoth before he annihilates the world. Everyone stands firm. If they fail, it's the end of the world. They attack the monster. BattleNet began in 2010, initially just a competition between countries. In 2022, the Space League opened, turning it into a battle for survival against other life forms. Humanity, representing Earth, faced repeated defeats. Now, in 2023, Earth has only 10 countries left, on the verge of extinction. The giant monster attacks humans, using its demonic power to destroy everything. At that moment, a black-haired man, ranked 7th, Marshal Saint Sung JiHan, flies in. The monster uses its demonic power against JiHan. He shields with his left hand, punches with his right, defeating the monster. His left arm is cut, body burned. An alert message appears: you completed the Earth, USA mission. Sung JiHan defeated the monster by himself. Good. Baron, a blonde-haired, Caucasian man, the America First Guild Master, smiles as he looks over the scene. Good job, Baron says shortly. To Baron, JiHan is just a useful hunting dog from Korea, doing his job well. JiHan's badly hurt. Regeneration. The third-ranked saintess, named JiHan, runs toward him, casting healing magic. As time passes, her expression darkens. No, she should have easily healed burn wounds, but the behemoth's burns are severe. JiHan, please endure for a bit. Please. Great heal. Great. The saintess uses healing magic, tears welling up. Baron frowns, seeing her struggle. He looks at the monster's corpse. The behemoth of the apocalypse. Evil energy still emanates from its body. It's hard to endure from here. How did he manage it from such a short distance? Baron finds himself impressed by JiHan, and his eyes begin to shine again. A light emanated from Behemoth's back. That's a boss battle reward. It was a special reward box that rarely appeared after defeating boss monsters, indicated by the same white light he was witnessing. Everyone, back off. Yes. As Baron signaled, the America First members stepped back, eyeing their surroundings. The special reward from the behemoth of the apocalypse was tempting, but they couldn't disobey Baron's orders. Baron selected the saintess and the 4th and 5th ranked members to receive the reward with him. What about JiHan? He isn't American. He's just a hunting dog. Despite JiHan's significant contribution to defeating Behemoth, he was excluded from the reward. He's also American. He was exiled. You should understand what type of American I'm talking about. But JiHan is the one who defeated the behemoth of the apocalypse. Ugh. JiHan, silently listening, smirked. He never expected Baron to share rewards with him in the first place. He spoke. Go. I'm okay now. I'm sorry. I'll be back soon. Okay. Sung JiHan, a refugee who fled his home country, possessed an SSS rank skill and gained the nameless divine arts. Despite climbing to 7th in world rankings, he faced prejudice and racism, unable to be accepted as American. JiHan sat in the car, healing his arm, awaiting the mission results. Dash. The ground shook, and a message window appeared. Space League, Bronze League demotion match result announcement. Unease settled in. Game category, defense. USA, pass. China, pass. Russia, fail. Japan, fail. Only the USA and China succeeded. All others failed. JiHan's expression hardened at the news. This. No. 42-12. Humanity has failed the demotion match. A final demotion match against NO. 47-73. ERK will be held. The match will take place immediately. The saintess addressed Baron, Master, we need JiHan. In the previous match against the URKS, we were only successful thanks to him. Baron refused, summoning the representative players from each planet. The match will start momentarily. The 4 used Baron's magic to fly onto Behemoth's corpse. 5 human players and 5 URK's monsters, face-to-face fight. for USA players and 1 China player. Baron concerned about having only 5 players to face URK monster dirty pigs. He believes they can't beat these URK monsters without JiHan, thinking of him as just a hunting dog. In the 5-on-5 battle, the losing side would be demoted. Baron attacked the URK monsters using magic swiftly. The Urk party countered Baron perfectly, beheading him and defeating him easily. Others watching the match were shocked. JiHan remained silent, observing the battle. Urk monsters proceeded to kill each player one by one. Human player has died. Finally, the Saints fell to the URK monster axes. The Urk monsters thanked the humans for winning the match, considering them weak. The URK monsters declared their survival. Oh my God. What's going to happen to us? Panic spread among the America First members as a new message window appeared. A shocking revelation echoed. Humanity has been defeated and demoted from the Bronze League. As a worthless race, we will be kicked out of the Space League. Black holes materialized on Earth, and everyone vanished. Darkness enveloped a guild member. Save me. No one was spared. High-ranking or low-ranking, every America First member disappeared within 5 minutes. Deletion of humanity complete. Error detected. There is still a surviving member of humanity. What? Did I survive by myself again? To think that Nameless Divine Arts would be able to resist this. Nameless Divine Arts, the skill that ranked him 7th, saved him. Although nameless, its SSS rank allowed him to withstand system deletion. Regret lingered. If I had uncovered its name, it would have become an even greater skill. The upgrade condition for Nameless Divine Arts was to find its true name, preventing the current situation. I would have been able to stop Korea from collapsing if I had gotten it sooner. Regret consumed JiHan. His body started to be devoured by darkness. The effect of Nameless Divine Arts had a limit. JiHan was about to surrender when. How surprising. Number 4212. Humanity should have been a worthless race. To think someone would be able to resist being erased. Different system messages appeared, colorful and unique. The usual ones are half-transparent and blue. The windows he saw now had various colors mixed in. It's low, but this being has a chance. Yes, no possibility can be overlooked. Let's give him an opportunity to re-challenge. I agree. I disagree. It's a waste of strength. I agree. I agree. 3 votes for, 1 against. The decision is made. Player Sung JiHan is returning to the time of initial entry in the league. The time of initial entry in the league. JiHan's vision darkened. Sung JiHan, now on a sofa in a familiar living room, opened his eyes. This is back in time. His head ached, the scent of alcohol lingering, a hangover. He hadn't felt this in a while, but he didn't mind. I really went back in time. Standing up, he noticed the lavish living room. He was just a freeloader in this house. And he looked at countless whiskey bottles. Oh, yeah. He was back when his life had started to change, turning level 2 and entering the Bronze League for the first time. The room seemed to be in Korea, the familiar building from his previous life. Children played happily outside, pretending with little stick swords. Sung JiHan realized he was truly back in Korea, then checked his status window. Level 2. Name, Sung JiHan. If I use the data from my previous life, I can change the future. Determined to be stronger this time, he glanced at a family photo. I'm going to protect everyone this time. In the year 2020, excitement rippled through Korea as they anticipated fierce competition against China. At that time, Korea stood firm with one of the world's top players, a renowned member of the top 11 and ranked 3rd globally, Saint JiHan, also known as Sword King. Saint JiHan's mastery of the sword technique made him a national treasure, boosting South Korea's position in the East Asian League. However, a sudden twist shocked the gaming community when Saint JiHan announced his decision to change his name to Ryuhei and become a Japanese citizen by joining the Japanese NEO Self-Defense Force in July 2020. The departure of Sword King Saint JiHan marked a turning point, causing South Korea's league ranking to plummet rapidly. As doubts and concerns arose, the once high-ranking nation found itself in a downward spiral. Sung JiHan, witnessing the press conference, couldn't hide his annoyance. Turning off the TV, he reflected on the past and the merciless nature of the BattleNet. The upcoming Space League, a game turned war for survival, was approaching, and JiHan had foreseen the disastrous consequences. Standing before a family photo of Sae Jin, JiHan's frustration manifested in a punch to the image. Determined to change the future, he contemplated the inexplicable love his late sister had for Sae Jin and wondered if her fate would have been different. Now residing in the Sword King building, Sung JiHan assessed his own status. With dismal statistics, level 2, Bronze League affiliation, and no class, JiHan sighed. Despite his seemingly useless gift, the Wanderer's Eye, he recalled an incident where its true potential had surfaced. Surprised by his unexpected achievement points and an EX rank achievement point exchange voucher, JiHan accessed the achievement shop. As he explored the possibilities, JiHan realized the potential for game-changing upgrades that could reshape his destiny, silently setting his sights on the coveted Gold League. To reach the higher leagues, JiHan had to navigate through the Bronze and Silver Leagues. However, as a level 2 Bronze, the road ahead seemed daunting. Aware that the achievement shop would be crucial in the future, JiHan recognized the need to take it one step at a time. With 50,000 achievement points remaining, JiHan deliberated between purchasing available options or upgrading the shop for 40,000 points. Choosing the latter without hesitation, he believed immediate benefits were more crucial at this stage. Upon upgrading to LV.4, JiHan gained the Emergency Recovery item, capable of restoring broken items. JiHan headed to Sae Jin's house, particularly the BattleNet connector room. After confirming his identity as a family member, JiHan utilized the emergency recovery on the brush. In the process, he discovered that it not only restored the item but also enhanced its rank. Eager to see its effects on his status, JiHan touched the brush to his stats window. In a fiery display, the brush modified his stats and introduced a new one, martial power. Excited about this unique stat, JiHan anticipated the BattleNet League tutorial about to commence. Arriving at the Coliseum, JiHan checked his status, revealing the combination of strength, agility, and vitality into martial power. Satisfied, he acknowledged the significance of the newly acquired nameless divine arts, declaring martial power 5. As the tutorial began, a limited quest appeared, challenging JiHan to finish first for a reward of 1,000 achievement points. Armed with martial power, JiHan confidently entered the game. The tutorial initiated with the objective to survive until the end. However, an aggressive player swiftly attacked JiHan from behind, confident in his victory. To the opponent's surprise, JiHan effortlessly caught the sword with 2 fingers. In the world captivated by the frenzy of BattleNet, guilds emerged as crucial organizations, nurturing and managing players globally. As nations invested heavily in player development, Korea witnessed the rise of numerous big and small guilds, fostering strong players in the competitive league. In the Gangnam Bronze League, specifically Gangnam Area 1 tutorial, a new bronze player named Do Hyokyu eagerly anticipated the day's challenges. Feeling the pressure of Gangnam's competitive environment, he relied on his luck and membership in the esteemed Twin Star Guild, directly managed by the Twin Star Group. Checking his stats, Do Hyokyu possessed a valuable gift, Agile A, rank A, enhancing his agility by 25 and bypassing the league's stat cap. Grateful for this life-changing gift, he set his sights on securing a spot among the top 50 players in the Bronze League. As the fight loomed, Do Hyokyu surveyed the formidable opponents from other guilds, recognizing the marks of major corporations. Sweating nervously, he steeled himself for the challenging battles ahead. However, amid the tension, a player unexpectedly appeared next to him, a disheveled man in sweatpants and a t-shirt, seemingly unarmed and oblivious to the imminent battle. Perceiving the situation, Do Hyokyu realized the man had mistakenly entered Gangnam 1. Seeing an opportunity, he decided to exploit the situation for a free kill point. With determination, Do Hyokyu rushed towards the unsuspecting man, drawing his sword. Yet, in a surprising turn of events, the man effortlessly caught the sword with his fingers, halting it midair. JiHan released his grip, causing Hyakyu to stumble backward. Agile, eh? Why come here with such a weak gift? JiHan expressed surprise, mocking Hyakyu for choosing a subpar gift in Gangnam. Ugh. Embarrassed, Hyakyu quickly got up, his face turning red. His plan to start off strong by securing a kill took an unexpected and embarrassing turn. Die. Whoosh. In an attempt for revenge, Hyakyu swung his sword, but JiHan effortlessly dodged with a bored expression. Though his opponent was faster, JiHan found the attack's trajectory too predictable. Unfazed, he decided it was time to conclude the encounter. Wish. Hyakyu clenched his teeth and targeted JiHan again. Yes. He believed he was about to succeed when. Tap. JiHan launched a counterattack, swiftly grabbing Hyakyu's sword. Though Hyakyu held the sword tightly, JiHan managed to snatch it at some point. Eyes widened in surprise, Hyakyu was defenseless when JiHan decisively sliced through his throat. Thanks for the loan. JiHan remarked as Hyakyu, critically damaged, shone and disappeared, an elimination in the game. JiHan watched him vanish, realizing the peculiar nature of this world within BattleNet where death was temporary. The same applied to the borrowed sword. JiHan couldn't fully claim ownership, perhaps due to the game context. I'll have to rely on weapons from others, he thought, prompting a system message. You've achieved the first kill in the tutorial. You've earned 100 achievement points. Ooh. Possibly due to the achievement shop, JiHan observed a detailed explanation of his achievement points. His attention shifted to the monsters in the Colosseum. Annihilation of the Urk Horde. Subdue the 30-strong Urk Horde, the Colosseum's most powerful monster group. Display the difference in strength. Reward, 500 achievement points. A quest window related to achievements appeared above the monster horde, presenting a new challenge for JiHan. JiHan couldn't hold back any longer. He charged right at the ugly Urks. What is this crazy human doing? The Urks shrieked. They weren't expecting a barehanded attack. They laughed, raised their axes, and hurled them at JiHan. Like he'd be fazed by that. He calmly caught every single axe midair. The Urk stared, confused. JiHan smirked. This is how you throw an axe, you oafs. He whipped the axes back with lightning speed. Instead of hitting JiHan, they spun through the air and embedded themselves right in the throats of the Urks who threw them. Panic replaced laughter. This human isn't right, the remaining Urks yelled. They scrambled to fight back, but it was too late. JiHan was already upon them. With each precise move, an Urk head tumbled to the ground. The others shrieked and stumbled back, blinded by fear. It was a brutal ballet, a wolf tearing through sheep. One by one, the mighty Urks, supposed champions of the Colosseum, fell before JiHan. He sliced another head clean off, but with that final blow, the axe handle snapped in half. The weapon's broken. Now's our chance, the remaining Urks roared, charging at JiHan. But JiHan just smiled. A swarm of Urks attacked JiHan simultaneously. One by one, JiHan fought them off, bringing them down to the ground. You guys should upgrade your weapons, JiHan remarked. A monster hurled a spear at JiHan, who effortlessly caught and broke it with his bare hands, leaving the monster astonished by JiHan's strength. Undeterred, JiHan continued to fight back, wielding axes until they too broke. As the monsters surrounded him, attacking simultaneously, JiHan harnessed his power, kicking the ground and creating a crashing effect that sent the monsters floating in the air. Seizing the opportunity, JiHan attacked all the airborne monsters with his sword. Then, with a swift motion, he threw the spear, penetrating all the monsters. Fearful and awestruck, the monsters murmured, "He is not human." JiHan finished off the last monster. You've cleared the quest, Annihilation of the Urk Horde. You've earned 500 achievement points. With the completion of the quest, JiHan received achievement points, prompting a level up. JiHan was surprised by the unexpected level up during the game. To think I'd level up in the middle of a game. Typically, leveling up occurred at the end of a game, but JiHan's low level and exceptional performance had brought about this unique situation. Opening his status window, JiHan observed. Martial power, 5. Magic power, 5. Unused stat points, 1. Investing the unused stat point, JiHan increased his martial power. Once martial power reaches 30, the path to obtaining Nameless Divine Arts will open. Nameless Divine Arts, an SSS rank martial art that had once placed him at the pinnacle of the world, was JiHan's current goal. Therefore, his immediate priority was to increase his martial power. Despite being a step closer to his objective, JiHan didn't display much excitement. It probably won't increase, but I'll have to allocate the points anyway. Martial power, a unique stat encompassing strength, vitality, and agility, likely wouldn't increase from a single stat point allocation. Not only that, although someone with 5 martial power and 5 strength should theoretically be equal in strength, in reality, that wasn't the case. Martial power was far more potent, making someone with it at least twice as strong with the same stat value. In essence, martial power was a remarkable stat that combined all 3 of its encompassed stats, and it was twice as effective. There's a downside, though. Raising martial power proved to be a formidable challenge. JiHan had initially believed it was a bug when it didn't increase despite investing points. Later, he discovered that point allocation merely extended its growth limit. The stat slowly increased through active participation in battles and undergoing intense personal training, making it an attribute that demanded significant effort. But then, why? JiHan rubbed his eyes and inspected his status window again. Why? The numbers seemed peculiar. Martial power, 6. Why did 5 now look like 6? After blinking several times, JiHan sensed a newfound strength within himself. Only then did reality hit him. Did my martial power just increase? Such an occurrence had never happened before. His initial flustered state was short-lived. Nice. You shouldn't look a gift horse in the mouth. JiHan smiled and scanned the area. An arrow whizzed in from the left, but JiHan effortlessly sidestepped it, turning his head to identify the source. He dodged it. Lucky move. 2 figures clad in armor adorned with turtle shell patterns closed in on him. Do they belong to the same guild? While individual survival was the goal, there were no rules against cooperation. Approaching him were a male warrior wielding a sword and shield and a female archer, a simple yet effective duo. The pair advanced confidently, convinced they had struck gold. Let's take him down quickly and climb the ranks. Agreed. We'll eliminate every opponent we can. Sounds like a plan. They were members of the Turtle Guild, one of South Korea's top 10. The prospect of being summoned together thrilled them, confident that their combination of close-range and long-range fighters would ensure their survival. The tutorial is about to end, so I shouldn't overexert myself. It'd be foolish to let such a novice slip through. To JiHan, they seemed like mice trapped in a cage. If you buy me dinner, I might let you have him. Higi, no thanks. They chuckled as they closed in, but little did they know, JiHan was the one truly amused. JiHan checked the leaderboard and noted his 4 kills so far. Barely puts me in first place. They're unsuspecting. This is perfect. With limited time, the opportunity was too good to pass up. JiHan hurled a hand axe, its speed surpassing even the Urk-slaughtering frenzy. The archer was taken aback by the velocity. She attempted to dodge, but it was a tad too late. The archer tried to evade the sword, but... Stab. Her head was pierced nonetheless, and she swiftly faded away. How could you do that to a woman? The man's voice trembled upon witnessing the archer's demise. JiHan regarded him with a crazed expression. Such a mindset wouldn't pass the tutorial. JiHan swiftly closed the distance. Eek. The man cowered behind his shield. JiHan circled to the man's back, his sword aiming for the neck. Ugh. The armor crumpled, and the man wavered. But the sword couldn't withstand the impact and snapped. As expected, I can block it. The Turtle Guild's B-rank full-plate armor proved its reliability. The man, trusting his armor, intended to endure when. Asterisk clang. Clang. Asterisk. Blows rained down on the back of his neck. Ugh. Right. This guy has a ton of weapons. From a club to a hand axe, Jihan wielded a variety of weapons, employing them all. But he's targeting the same spot repeatedly. Despite the man's attempts to turn and block, Jihan somehow maneuvered behind him, repeatedly striking the same vulnerable area. The enemy adeptly handled an array of weapons. The man broke into a nervous sweat as his armor crumpled with each blow. Finally, cough. Crack. It took 4 broken weapons, but a gap in the armor emerged, and a fractured sword thrust through it. Stab. The man's consciousness dimmed as his neck was pierced. The system's voice resonated in his ear. There are 50 survivors left. The tutorial has ended. In the realm of Twin Star Guild, I.M. Gaeong was a shining prospect, revered for her rare S-rank gift. She exceeded all expectations, securing second place on the leaderboard with an impressive tally of 4 kills. But amidst the acclaim, whispers emerged about an enigmatic figure, Sung JiHan. Claiming the top spot with no guild affiliation left many puzzled. Who is Sung JiHan? Does anyone know him? The executives of Turtle Guilds questioned, perplexed by the unexpected outcome. Meanwhile, JiHan, upon returning to the real world, was greeted with messages of triumph for his tutorial victory. His experience soared by 50%, and his level increased by 3, a feat that would have taken him a month elsewhere. With newfound power at his fingertips, JiHan strategically allocated his stat points, focusing on bolstering his martial power. And with each investment, his strength grew. Earning the coveted title of the one who conquered the tutorial bronze, JiHan's potential seemed boundless. Though his journey had just begun, he was armed with the tools to thrive in the Bronze League and beyond. With determination in his heart, JiHan set his sights on reaching level 25, eager to pave the way for future adventurers. As JiHan approached level 25, he realized he wouldn't need to play every day. Instead, he could await the promotion match to the Silver League. Yet, as he pondered his next move, the class section beckoned, shimmering with opportunity. Upon reaching level 5, he was presented with the chance to select a basic class: warrior, archer, mage, or support. Reflecting on his past as a martial saint, JiHan contemplated choosing the warrior class, a familiar path that promised growth in martial power and martial arts prowess. However, the achievement shop offered an intriguing alternative: an extra class for 10,000 achievement points, unlocking new possibilities. Firm in his decision, JiHan's hand hovered over the support class, despite the system's warning against it. Ignoring the allure of immediate strength from the warrior class, he saw potential in the support-exclusive stat, divine power. Aware of the challenges in raising divine power, JiHan recognized the need for strategic planning. Unlike other stats that could be improved through training, divine power required a different approach. He recalled the Saintess's guidance, realizing that unused stat points weren't the key to unlocking its potential. With determination, JiHan embarked on his journey, armed not just with strength but with foresight, knowing that true power lay not in the obvious choice, but in the careful cultivation of unique abilities. As Ji-young found herself summoned into the game, screams pierced the air, signaling the start of the dreaded zombie defense mission on the bronze-exclusive map, 10 Towers. Surveying her surroundings atop a narrow tower, Ji-young braced herself for the onslaught. The mission was clear: protect the crystal and survive the relentless zombie assault until only 5 towers remained standing. With a sigh, Ji-young awaited the arrival of her fellow defenders. First came an archer, followed by a mage wielding impressive gear. As she assessed their potential, Ji-young couldn't help but feel apprehensive about the impending battle. A support was crucial for their success, and their final teammate would determine their fate. Then, a light descended, revealing their last member, a man in a black tracksuit, wielding a long metal pole. It was JiHan, the tutorial's victor, and his unexpected appearance left Ji-young astonished. However, the mage's reaction was far from welcoming. Disdain dripped from his words as he ridiculed Jihan's equipment and questioned his capabilities. Despite the archer's attempts to mediate, the mage's arrogance persisted, escalating into a demand for Jihan's apology. But Jihan's response was unexpected. Without hesitation, he confronted the mage, refusing to back down. In a swift motion, Jihan dispatched the mage, sending him hurtling through the air to meet a grisly fate at the hands of the zombies below. As the chaos unfolded, Jiang realized the true identity of the mage. Kim Gyu-hyuk, notorious for his disruptive behavior and penchant for targeting weaker players. With Gyu-hyuk's demise, Jihan's decisive action left an indelible mark on their team, signaling a shift in the dynamics of the battle to come. Gyu-hyuk came back after using one of his chances to return to the game. "You're crazy," he shouted, but Jihan surprised him by saying, "You're still here?" "What?" He was quiet, not expecting that response. Jihan grabbed Gyu-hyuk again and mentioned the revival in bronze. "Here we go again," Jihan said before tossing Gyu-hyuk off the tower once more. Gyu-hyuk tried to defend himself when he came back, thinking Jihan was just a support. He felt he shouldn't be matched with beginners who had just finished the tutorial. "I'll get him," he thought angrily. He tried to attack Jihan, but Jihan easily broke through his defense. Jihan warned Gyu-hyuk that he only had one chance left if he died again. Scared of what would happen if he finished last, Gyu-hyuk agreed to play properly for now, but he planned to get back at Jihan later. "I'm level 15, and I'm a fire mage, good for this map. I'll help you out." "Oh, you've made the right choice." The archer, who had been watching nervously, was happy. To think that the troublemaker Kim Gyu-hyuk would give in like that. Someone who joined the silver promotion match is only level 15? Jae-young couldn't believe Gyu-hyuk's level, but since he surrendered first, she thought the game would go smoothly. "Is that all?" Jihan, who had been silent, reached for Gyu-hyuk's collar. "Huh? I don't need to say sorry? People will think I started the fight if you put it like that. Wait. Next time, mind your manners." Swoosh. Gyu-hyuk was thrown off the tower, screaming all the way down. The archer reached out, but it was too late. The mage, Kim Gyu-hyuk, has died. Kim Gyu-hyuk has been eliminated from this game. The defense map needed a team of 4, and now they were missing a mage. A chilling silence filled the tower. The problem has been dealt with. Jihan didn't seem bothered as he looked at his quest window. Limited quest. Finish first place in 10 towers. Reward, 1,000 achievement points. The quest, like during the tutorial, was to finish first, with the same reward. I expected this, but Jihan noticed another quest glowing beneath the limited one. This was new, not in the tutorial. Chain quest, Zombie Source. Defeat 1,000 zombies on your own. Reward, 3,000 achievement points. Once completed, you'll unlock Zombie Source 2. Beat 1,000 zombies alone? Jihan wrinkled his brow. It sounded impossible. Zombies weren't a big threat to him, but the game will be over before I can finish. The game would end when 5 of the 10 towers fell, so he could only succeed if the others could hold on. I'll focus on the main quest for now. Jihan peered down from the tower. Go. A horde of zombies tried to climb up, but they kept slipping on the steep tower. They trampled over their fallen allies to climb higher. The archer, standing beside Jihan, sighed. If only we had a mage. A single fireball could have wiped out the mass of zombies. The archer glanced at Jihan with resentment. If you were so annoyed with the troublemaker, you should have just ignored him. What now? Without the mage, they'll swarm up like crazy. Jae-young had been critical of Jihan ever since he got rid of the mage. Regardless of right or wrong, Jae-young believed they should have moved on. To act so recklessly. The bigger issue was his class's support. Someone who seemed suited for the warrior class chose to be a support Why would he make such a choice? Is he seeking attention? She couldn't understand. Her only conclusion was that he was irrational, so she made up her mind. I'll be at the front. Support, stay back. She was the warrior, so standing in the front was her job. Even though she didn't like the man's behavior, she still had to do her duty. But JiHan waved his hand calmly. It's fine. Just protect the archer. Imjiayang looked at JiHan in disbelief. Was he planning to fight alone? But then, the zombies started climbing over the top of the tower, undeterred. Thanks to the archers and mages in the other towers, the zombies couldn't make it halfway up. They're finally here. JiHan smiled at the zombies. The metal pole swiftly crushed a zombie's head. Ji-Young's eyes widened in surprise. His speed was amazing. Even with her trained eyes, she couldn't follow the metal pole's movements. The archer's reaction was the same. He stood there with his mouth hanging open. Is this real? Ms. Warrior, is he really a support? I don't know anymore. Sung JiHan's metal pole moved like a circus performer, and it targeted only the zombies' heads, their weak spot. The archer finally understood why JiHan looked so confident. The tower was small, and the zombies could only come from one direction, so JiHan could handle it alone. But that metal pole alone shouldn't be enough for a blood zombie. You're right. Jia agreed with the archer. A blood zombie was tougher than regular ones. Its head was covered by a bloody substance that resisted physical attacks, needing special strength to defeat. Of course, in the Bronze League, that strength was magic. If only the mage had survived, we might have one. Seeing JiHan fight so well made the archer even more resentful. 5 zombies, stronger and with red skin, rushed toward JiHan. As the archer thought, it's over now. Huh?
Bang!
The metal pole moved and exploded all 5 blood zombies' heads at once. White flames engulfed them, turning their bodies to ash. Ji-Young couldn't believe it. That white energy was divine power? Every time JiHan defeated a zombie, he felt stronger, like he was getting closer to another world's faith. His divine power grew with each strike, especially against the tough blood zombies. The relic JiHan carried seemed happy to be with him, like it knew JiHan was meant to have it. As JiHan got stronger, he learned how to use his divine power better. It was different from Ki, but just as important. With some help, JiHan learned to channel his divine power through his weapon. He got so good that he could even make holy fire appear when he crushed a blood zombie's head. After defeating many zombies, JiHan felt like he truly understood the faith from another world. His divine power got stronger, and the relic he had became even more useful. Even though the relic's rank went down, JiHan knew it was still valuable. He decided to save his divine power but kept fighting with all his might, sometimes using his divine power to make his weapon even stronger. Others watching JiHan were amazed at how precise and powerful he was. They saw him as a skilled warrior, especially Ji-Young, who was impressed by his control and use of divine power. As JiHan fought on, the game changed. They weren't last anymore, and JiHan's strength was a big reason why. Meanwhile, the Saintess remembered how cheap relics used to be. She explained how people thought there was a secret to them, but the prices dropped when no secret was found. JiHan learned about relics from other worlds and how they could make his divine power stronger. He found out his sister used to collect them too, and he even discovered some in her storage. Among the relics, JiHan found a metal pole from another world. It was earrank and had been used by clergy members to show their faith. Then, JiHan recognized Jia, who once wielded the plum blossom sword. He remembered her from when he first started getting stronger with the nameless divine arts. But JiHan knew Jia story didn't end well. She lost to Sword King Yoon Seijin, who was now Japan's top player. JiHan was determined to change her fate. With the game coming to an end, JiHan decided to push harder. He leaped into action, using all his divine power to defeat the zombies and turn them to ashes with holy fire. In the end, the zombie horde was no match for JiHan's strength and determination. First place. The archer couldn't believe it. They were on top of the scoreboard, all thanks to a support player. JiHan's incredible 550 kills had led them to victory. Ji-young watched in shock. Was this the same person she trained with? How could a newcomer dominate the game like this? Even a skilled silver player would struggle to match JiHan's performance. The Battle.net game's imbalance was well known, but this exceeded anything Ji-young had seen. Feeling lost, she wondered if she should quit. As the game ended and the towers collapsed, JiHan found himself back at the tower's top, covered in zombie blood but unharmed. The archer bid him farewell, thrilled with their unexpected win. Approaching JiHan, Ji-young set aside her doubts. She was determined to recruit him for the Twin Star Guild. Ji-young's request for his number caught Sung JiHan off guard. He couldn't remember his Korean number, only the one from the United States. But he didn't see the point in exchanging numbers since he wasn't interested in joining any guilds. Instead, he looked forward to his rewards. In his previous life, his experience gain slowed after reaching 7th in the rankings. Now, as a low-level player, leveling up was exciting. He eagerly read the system messages announcing his achievements and rewards for finishing first in the defense game. The rewards from the game weren't as big as the tutorial, but Sung JiHan still felt satisfied. He figured if he kept winning, he could hit level 25 and join a promotion match in a month. But he knew keeping up the winning streak would be tough, especially with Battle.net matching players by level. Still, Sung JiHan was confident in his skills. He aimed for first place every time, hoping for extra points. He thought about buying a relic with his game points, but found the prices too high. Deciding to explore the house, he adjusted his stats and headed towards his sister's room. But his plans were interrupted by the sound of the door opening. In came a cheerful girl in a school uniform, surprising Sung JiHan. She noticed the damaged family photo and jokingly asked why he'd made it worse, then broke it completely. Sung JiHan could only watch in shock as she shattered the image of her father, Yoon's age. JiHan greeted his niece, Sia, warmly but felt a bit sad. Even though she was 18 and 9 years younger, they were very close, almost like siblings. He remembered when his parents died, and his sister met Sae Jean, who promised to take care of them. They had a simple wedding, and Sae Jean moved in. JiHan helped raise Sia since she was a baby, but in the past, he couldn't protect her from something bad. Feeling determined, JiHan silently vowed not to let it happen again. Sae shared with JiHan about getting sent home from camp after a problem at the press conference. Her dad had called her before, saying he's in love and leaving everything to her. JiHan clenched his fists, feeling upset about her dad's actions and the situation they were left in. Sae Jean had sold most of his things before going to Japan, leaving only a little for Sae, and their family's reputation had been hurt too. Determined to support Sae, JiHan promised himself to be someone she could trust. In the Twin Star Guild HR Department's 3rd Division Executive Manager's room, Lee Ha-yeon, the executive manager, laughed at footage Ji-young brought. Despite Ji-young's poker-faced demeanor, Ha-yeon teased her. After discussing a potential recruit, Ha-yeon pointed out a video on Battle.net fortune teller, Mr. Sung's channel, catching Ji-young's attention. Ji-young wondered why Ha-yeon watched such videos, considering her wealthy background. Lee Ha-yeon mentioned that the guy in the video is accurate and would be famous if he streamed consistently. Ji-young thought he resembled JiHan. Ji-young noticed the title of a live broadcast, surprising Ha-yeon. It was about the Sword King's brother-in-law and daughter discussing a recent incident. JiHan set up a camera on BattleTube, a video streaming platform on Battle.net. Sae, dressed in black, looked at JiHan in disbelief as people in the chat criticized him. JiHan suddenly kicked and destroyed a statue of the Sword King, shocking everyone. Some fans were angry, but others supported JiHan. JiHan obtained an achievement and leveled up, looking happy. 30,000 folks were watching JiHan's show. He hit 2 big goals, getting lots of viewers and beating hate. That earned him 3,000 points, but he also got 10,000 dislikes. Even so, he still earned another 1,000 points. JiHan spotted trouble with the Sword King fan club. They used to like Sae Jin but turned on his daughter, Sae. JiHan knew he had to step in. He shared a recording of the Sword King and his daughter's phone call. In the recording, Sword King Sae told Sae he was leaving for love, which shocked everyone. Sae sounded really sad. She couldn't believe her dad was leaving her. People got angry at the Sword King. Some didn't believe the recording, but lots did. Sae's feelings touched many hearts. She introduced herself to the public and decided to give away the Sword Palace. She couldn't accept an inheritance from someone who left her nation and family. So, she donated the palace to the nation. People were surprised by her choice. It surprised everyone. The palace was super valuable. People argued about it in the chat. JiHan focused on protecting Sae. Before the live show, JiHan and Sae talked at home about giving away their building to the nation. Sae was surprised and unsure about it. She asked, "Why should we donate?" JiHan had his reasons. He explained, in the past, people attacked Sae because her dad left the country. People were really mad, and the country took away all of Sae Jin's money. Then Sae became homeless and couldn't handle the harassment from the Sword King fan club. It got so bad she ended her own life. Knowing the building would be taken away eventually, JiHan wanted to make sure Sae stayed safe, and to make people like them. Finally, Sae agreed to give all their money to the nation because she trusted her uncle, JiHan. During the live show, members of the Sword King fan club complained about Sae's decision to donate to the nation. They accused JiHan of influencing her. JiHan stood up to the Sword King, warning him to take care of himself in Japan. The chat erupted in surprise and support for JiHan's bold declaration. After the show, Sae worried about JiHan because of the live stream and everything that happened. Meanwhile, in Japan, the Sword King watched the live stream made by his daughter, but he seemed indifferent to her. Instead, he listened to his girlfriend, who used her magic power to seduce him. While JiHan and his nephew were chatting, there was a knock on the door. JiHan knew who it was and happily opened it. It was Mr. Park Yoon-sik from the government, here to talk about something important. Mr. Park greeted JiHan and his nephew, and they all said hi to each other. They talked about something called the Sword King fortune, which the government wanted to take over. But they couldn't do that, so they were having a private chat about it. Since the government couldn't own the Sword King return, they thought it would be a good idea for JiHan and his nephew to take care of it until the owner came back. JiHan agreed, as long as they promised to give it back when the owner returned. The government also wanted JiHan and his nephew to keep living in the Sword Palace, which sounded good to everyone. JiHan understood and said yes. But before they signed any papers, he had a favor to ask. In another scene, a streamer named Golden Light was live-streaming from the Colosseum. He was wearing shiny gold armor and had a golden sword. People in the chat were cheering for him and donating money. Other players were watching him, feeling strange. Golden Light was famous for being handsome and energetic, but also for being mean to weaker players. Even though he was really good, he liked to pick on people who weren't as good as him. That's why other players were mad at him. He wanted to start a fight with someone and looked around the area. That's when he saw JiHan, who looked like a nerd holding kitchen stuff. He immediately went to talk to JiHan because of something JiHan had done on a live stream the day before. While JiHan was busy with his job, he glanced at the window screen and started his own live stream. The famous Golden Light streamer got jealous because people were paying more attention to JiHan's stream than his own. Then, Some viewers sent a message to the Golden Light streamer, offering him money to kill JiHan. It started at $2,000, but as more people got involved, the reward went up to $40,000. The Golden Light streamer was upset because he wanted it to reach $50,000 before starting the game. But then, one fan of the Sword King said they'd add an extra $10,000 if he killed JiHan quickly. So, the Golden Light streamer decided to go for it. He used his powers and sword to try to kill JiHan, charging at him and swinging his sword. But JiHan defended himself with a cooking item, even though it was just a low-ranked one. Then, JiHan fought back, surprising the viewers. They wondered if he was using some kind of divine power or support skills. JiHan managed to get the first kill, earning himself 100 points. His body started glowing with divine power, and in his right hand, he held a kitchen knife. Even though the Golden Light streamer respawned using the Cross of Resurrection item, he failed again to take down JiHan. This time, he was determined not to let his guard down. But before he could do anything, JiHan appeared behind him and swiftly eliminated him from the game with another slash. JiHan remembered seeing the resurrection item before but thought it was flawed, as it could only be used once and not in national leagues. He felt annoyed seeing the spectators were elves this time, knowing their role in humanity's downfall in his previous life. He decided to deal with them later, and focused on leveling up by hunting down enemies. However, everyone started running away from JiHan, fearing his power even though he was only using low-ranked items. Perplexed, JiHan continued to fight to understand the potential of his items, like the kitchen knife and hammer. Suddenly, a quest window appeared, instructing him to subjugate goblins and become the Goblin champion. JiHan engaged in battle with the goblins, using his hammer to bash their heads and his knife to finish them off. The goblins begged for help as JiHan's combo of hammer blows and knife strikes proved deadly. A message window popped up, suggesting that using both items together would be more efficient, with a specific order for their use since they were set items. Intrigued, JiHan continued his quest, eager to discover the full capabilities of his weapons. After JiHan figured out his item's secret by beating up some goblins, a big goblin boss appeared. JiHan only needed one hit to knock it down hard, and then finished it off by cutting its heart. He got 500 points and felt stronger. Deciding to go after other players next, JiHan saw them fighting far away. He decided to take them all down, glowing with divine power. In the chat, viewers cheered for JiHan and said he was scary. Meanwhile, the Golden streamer was upset in his room, talking about how strong JiHan was. He said JiHan's stats were much better than usual bronze players. JiHan started hunting players and quickly took out one. Then, in an amazing move, he killed 4 players with one swift knife attack, surprising everyone. He got double kills. Then JiHan got even faster and took out 3, 4, and even 5 players in one go. Other players got scared and stopped fighting each other to team up against JiHan. They thought he was cheating because he was so strong. Some players shot arrows at JiHan, but he dodged them all and took out 2 more players. He got 10 kills, shocking everyone. JiHan got even stronger with divine power from his items, even though they got a bit weaker. He won 5,000 points and 10 kills, but he knew he needed one big win to get even more power. Suddenly, an epic quest appeared: find the Shadow Queen among the elves and make her mad. JiHan was surprised to see such a tough quest in the Bronze League, but he wanted to do it for the big reward of 50,000 points and the Constellation Shadow Queen. This could lead to even more powers he couldn't normally get. JiHan was determined to find the Shadow Queen, even though it would be hard among the elves. He knew she was there, waiting for him. JiHan's achievement of 10 kills at the Colosseum was a big deal, the first of its kind since the Sword King. News of this spread fast through different chat groups and social media platforms. Thanks to this, his stream gained 10,000 subscribers and peaked at over 4,000 live viewers. Surprisingly, the Sword King fan club, who originally wanted Jihan to fail, ended up inadvertently helping him instead. All their anger was now directed towards the Golden Streamer. The Golden Streamer felt annoyed reading the news, but also started to become interested in and even a fan of Jihan. He dreamed of becoming Jihan's editor and turning him into the best in BattleTube star. At the Sword King Palace that night, Saia was amazed by her uncle Jihan's livestream performance and his newfound strength. Everyone wanted to donate to Jihan, but he hadn't set up a donation line yet. Saia suggested setting a minimum donation amount to avoid constant distractions during the game. Jihan agreed and set it to 10,000 GP. However, he was more focused on the epic quest to find the Shadow Queen. Finding the Shadow Queen seemed impossible among the crowded spectators. Saia noticed Jihan's expression and offered to help him. She wanted to know who the Shadow Queen was too, as nobody knew about her yet. Jihan agreed, and his nephew began combing through replays slowly to find her. Jihan was happy with the plan and retreated to his room to contemplate. In his window, he had 2 slots, one for the supporter class and another empty one awaiting something new. Jihan decided to use all his hard-earned achievement points to purchase an extra class slot. With this, he could add a new class to his character. After considering his options, he chose to become a mage. Completing the class change filled Jihan with a new kind of power, different from the divine power he was used to. He could feel the flow of this new energy in his heart. The reason he chose mage after being a supporter was because of a unique stat he could only obtain by having both classes, force, an incredibly powerful ability. In his past life, Jihan often sat with his master, Baron, listening to his drunken ramblings. One day, Baron talked about force, a stat that combined magic and divine power perfectly. It was a gift only he possessed because he had 2 classes. Jihan learned that to achieve it, divine power needed to be at least level 10. Even though Jihan knew the secret, he never thought he could use it until now. With 2 classes and his divine power, he finally had the chance to try it himself. It was a power he needed to prepare for what lay ahead. However, when Jihan attempted to use force, he did it wrong and crashed into a door. He realized he needed to raise his magic power first. After draining most of his magic power from a failed attempt, Jihan tried a different approach. He contained the power within his body and fused his divine and magic powers together, guiding them to the lower elixir field using martial power. It was a painful process, but Jihan managed to achieve it, causing an explosion of force. A window message appeared, indicating that he was attempting to integrate the 3 elixir fields, but also warning him that he was pushing his limits dangerously far. In another room, Saia heard the commotion and screamed, sensing something was wrong with Jihan. Jihan was trying to mix 3 special energies inside him to make something super strong called force. He really wanted this force thing, so he tried mixing divine power, magic, and martial power together, even though it was really hard. But to mix them right, he needed to be really good at controlling all 3 powers. He also needed to be super strong in all sorts of abilities, like having at least 100 points in each. If someone who wasn't strong enough tried this, they could even die. Jihan was struggling a lot with this mixing. It was making him feel really bad. His niece, Sia, heard him yelling from his room. She got really scared and ran to see what was wrong. When she saw him, she was shocked. Jihan told her he was just having a really bad headache, which made him yell. Sia was really worried because Jihan was the only family she had left. She started crying because she was scared something bad might happen to him. Jihan realized he needed to think about how Saia felt. He told her he was okay and apologized for scaring her. Saia stopped crying and felt better knowing Jihan was okay. She left to go find something else to do, feeling relieved. Jihan decided he needed to be strong for her and not show his weak side again. Then, A message popped up saying the mixing of the three energies had failed. But JiHan wasn't too upset because he still got some of the power he wanted, called force. The message also said that his divine and magic powers had combined into this new power. Even though he couldn't mix all three energies, he was still happy he got something out of it. In his stats, this new force power started at 12 because it shared points with his martial power. This meant if he got stronger in one area, his force would get stronger too. JiHan thought this was pretty cool and powerful. He wondered how strong he could become if he managed to mix all three energies. The next morning, JiHan slept with some special items that made his divine power stronger, raising it to 10. From now on, he could only get more divine power from items that were really good, like C rank or better. JiHan realized the items he had were only D and E rank, so they weren't useful anymore. He decided to sell them in the second-hand market. He went to wake up his nephew, Sia, but she had been working all night, searching for the Shadow Queen. JiHan warned her that staying up all night wasn't good for her health, but she was so focused on her search that she didn't notice it was morning. Sia showed JiHan what she found. Game replays where elves were acting as the queen and watching the game. They both thought maybe the term Shadow Queen could refer to dark elves. Sia planned to look for more information by searching for videos from overseas the next day. JiHan praised her professionalism and offered to help edit the videos. JiHan was surprised that Sia knew how to edit videos. He remembered that she used to make videos of her dad as a hobby before he left the family for Japan. This made JiHan angry, and he looked at a family photo sadly. 2 days ago, Mr. Park had talked to JiHan and Sia about the Sword King's girlfriend. Sia wondered who she was, and Mr. Park told them her name was Ito Shizuru, and she had an SSS rank power called Beauty. JiHan and Sia were shocked. JiHan asked if the Sword King might have been attracted to her because of her power. Mr. Park said that's what the administration office believed and warned JiHan to be careful too. Beauty was said to be even stronger than mind control and could even remodel the mind. There were cases of powerful people from Korea suddenly moving to Japan, possibly because of her power. JiHan tried to find information about Beauty and Ito Shizuru, but couldn't find anything. He realized Japan was probably keeping any info about her secret. He remembered Mr. Park's warning to be careful about Beauty, as powerful individuals from Korea might be targeted. Suddenly, a Japanese Inyo self-defense force plane was coming to Korea, which made JiHan even more cautious. Sia and JiHan were all set for the conference. JiHan noticed Sia was a bit shaky, probably because it was her first public appearance since her dad's work. He reassured her, reminding her how confident she was in the last broadcast and that they hadn't done anything wrong, so there was no need to act otherwise. Sia agreed and smiled. As they entered the lobby, they saw that most of the people were already there, eager to hear what they had to say. Mr. Park was getting everything ready as JiHan had requested. JiHan had asked for an auction of the Sword King's collection, aiming to attract the attention of the Inyo self-defense force from Japan. Mr. Park was surprised by this plan, but impressed by JiHan's foresight. JiHan explained that the items selected for the auction, like the Sword King's battle connector with stored battle data, would surely catch Japan's interest, possibly even prompting them to come themselves. He believed this auction was the last chance to change public opinion. He asked Mr. Park to keep an eye on the Inyo self-defense force. Just then, Thea's relatives showed up, wanting to enter the room. However, they weren't allowed in. Sia asked them why they were there, and they blamed her and JiHan for selling off items at auction. Sia stood her ground, pointing out that her aunt and uncle had used her dad's name for scams before being chased out. She questioned if they thought so little of her, and if they were only after her dad's fortune. Her relatives were furious at her truthfulness. Sia made it clear that the wealth her dad, the Sword King, left behind belonged solely to her, and her relatives had no right to argue otherwise. She asked Mr. Park to escort them out, as they weren't family. JiHan praised Sae for being pretty cool, and together they entered the conference room. The photographers were surprised to see JiHan and snapped pictures as they entered. People bombarded JiHan with questions about the purpose of the auction and why overseas groups were allowed to participate. Sae felt uncomfortable with the constant flash of the cameras. They faced attack questions about the Sword King's property being the source of money and why they were giving it up. JiHan had enough. He used his force power to destroy all the cameras and declared that this was an auction event, not an interview. He asked for some silence before starting the auction. There were 3 items up for auction. First was the Sword King's BattleNet connector, which reduced pain by 99% and contained valuable stored data. This included analysis of the Sword King himself and other top players in Korea and East Asia, which was especially important with the Korea-Japan match approaching. A representative from the Japan Self-Defense Force, Takeda Kazuo, raised his hand to make the first bid. He offered 5 billion yen for all the items and requested a private meeting with Sae. JiHan saw through Takeda Kazuo's intentions and refused the private meeting, stating that there were no private meetings here. Takeda Kazuo's bodyguard, Shadow, intervened, showing she was a formidable player, though not on the level of the Sword King. JiHan, angered by their persistence, prepared to use his power, his eyes gleaming with determination. In an instant, everything changed. The bodyguard swiftly drew her sword on JiHan. Pressing her blade against JiHan's neck, she caught his eye and subdued him. Furious, she attempted to retract her sword, but JiHan cautioned her to halt. He pointed out that the auction was being broadcast worldwide on my BattleNet stream. In the live stream, many viewers watched and commented in real time. Then, Takeda, a member from Japan, apologized, expressing regret for the incident and offering 35 million along with a private meeting. He sought an answer from Ms. Sae. This surprised Sae. As the daughter and heir, Takeda wanted her response. Approaching Sae, Takeda asked about her father's actions, offering to provide the answers she sought. Sae declined the private meeting, leaving Takeda disheartened. He questioned whether she would forfeit $50 million because of the private meeting. Sae explained that her uncle, JiHan, deemed Takeda's proposal too suspicious, so she followed his guidance. Additionally, since she was underage, her uncle was her guardian, and she would act according to his decisions. Even though JiHan and Sae turned down the private meeting, the Enio Self-Defense Force might try offering money again. They still planned to buy it for 50 million. JiHan suspected something fishy. Enio seemed to be under orders to pay 50 million by someone called the Sword King. He handed the letter from the Sword King to Sae. It was strange how easily Takeda from Enio got hold of the Sword King's stuff, especially since Korean companies couldn't afford it. This Takeda guy was banned from entering the US because of his personality and his association with the Enio Self-Defense Force. He managed to recruit players from other countries so easily that people called him the Japanese Calamity. JiHan and Takeda made a deal for the auction. Then, Sae opened up about the letter from the Sword King. In the letter, the Sword King said she should donate the Sword Palace. But Sae realized that was a terrible idea because it was the last inheritance from her father. He hoped she'd use it wisely, and that was the end of their relationship. Sae cried as she read the letter. It was definitely her dad's handwriting. JiHan felt both sad and angry. He thought about the power of the beauty spell, which could control minds. It was super powerful and dangerous. Once, the Sword King had been a good dad to Sae, but now their relationship was over. Sae told Takeda she was ready to cut ties with her father. JiHan destroyed the letter from Sae with his magic fire. Everyone was stunned by JiHan's magic and power. They knew him as a support player, but he also had warrior skills, divine power, and now magic. It was a shock. Takada really wanted JiHan to join the Inyo self-defense force. Everyone wanted JiHan to join their guild and made offers. But JiHan turned them all down. He said it wasn't the right time to think about that. Suddenly, JiHan's nephew collapsed. JiHan was shocked and shouted her name. JiHan quickly scooped up his niece from the ground, gently waking her from her dizziness. Concerned, JiHan asked if she was okay as Seiya slowly opened her eyes. In a hushed voice, Seiya explained to JiHan that she was pretending to faint because of the trouble with the guild members' proposals. Everyone was pressuring JiHan to join their guilds, so she wanted to help him out by creating a distraction. JiHan was taken aback by her revelation, so winked, showing that she had taken matters into her own hands. The guards shielded JiHan and Seiya from the crowd. With Seiya now feeling better, JiHan apologized to everyone and decided to end the event, citing Seiya's need for rest. Helping her to her feet, JiHan escorted Seiya out of the room. As they left, Takada from Japan approached, apologizing for the disturbance and expressing his desire to formally invite JiHan to his guild. He offered his contact information on a business card. JiHan, furious, used his powers to burn the business card as his response. In the live chat, viewers celebrated as the fourth-ranked guild in the world got turned down by the Korean player JiHan, poking fun at Takada from Japan. Takada became even more eager to recruit JiHan. Outside the event room, JiHan commended Seiya for her acting skills. He received a message indicating that Takada had donated 10,000 GP and requested a private meeting with JiHan, promising more donations in the future. Seiya felt irritated and upset by Takada's persistence. JiHan decided to block Takada's account. As JiHan and Seiya stood there, a beautiful lady approached them, surprising them both. JiHan recognized her resemblance to the BattleNet match predictor and realized she might be a fan because of his game prediction skills. Seiya wondered why JiHan seemed so shocked, guessing it was because the lady was very pretty. Then, unexpectedly, JiHan quoted a line from a famous novelist known for his gambling addiction. When the world is filled with possibilities. They were both taken aback by JiHan's words, realizing where it came from. JiHan asked the lady if she liked the quote, but her bodyguard stepped in, curious about JiHan's identity and his knowledge of the lady's motto. To help JiHan out of the situation, Seiya pretended her condition wasn't good, prompting JiHan to say they had to leave. He asked for the lady's business card so he could contact her later. Surprised and rejected, the lady watched as JiHan and Seiya left. Seiya was relieved that she wouldn't have to worry about her uncle's love life. The lady, feeling embarrassed, asked her bodyguard, Gaeong, to laugh at her rejection. Gaeong chuckled loudly in response. After bumping into each other, Seiya saw something strange. JiHan had on her dad's big coat, all baggy on him. He had to borrow clothes from the Sword King to make up for it. JiHan said the coat was really good quality, even if it didn't fit right. Seiya thought so too. Then, Seiya told JiHan he should be more straightforward when turning down the pretty lady. She said playing hard to get was fine, but lying about not having a phone wasn't cool. Seiya pretended to feel sick to help JiHan out, thinking he was just playing along. But she was surprised to find out he really didn't know his phone number. Seiya felt down and quiet after that. Later, JiHan joined a game, feeling tired from trying to cheer up Seiya, who felt bad for messing up her uncle's chance at love and thinking she wasn't smart. She cried about it. JiHan realized Seiya thought he liked the pretty lady, Heian, who loved gambling. In their past lives, JiHan and Heian were good at predicting gambling outcomes and bonded over it after losing their home, Korea. They used to drink and bet together. Heian, also called Zero, was really into gambling. When JiHan guessed right, she was amazed. They even bet on football games, backing the god of football, Diego Maschio, who was top-notch. JiHan told Zero to quit gambling and focus on the game. He was tired of her saying, full of possibilities. It is hard to ignore them every time she lost. He also asked when she'd get rid of the wound on her face, but she said she made a deal with the devil to keep it. She regretted not being strong enough to save her friends in Korea and felt bad about herself. JiHan and Zero both felt guilty for not protecting their loved ones. In the game, JiHan aimed to defend the town and Crystal. Fans in the chat wondered why he was wearing a coat and asked to see his status. They were surprised he had a C-rank sword and wanted to know more. JiHan said he'd show his status if he got 20k subscribers or didn't win first place. Fans were impressed by his confidence. 3 teammates joined JiHan, a famous streamer, a fiery mage he clashed with before, and a football player who used to be SSS rank, Diego Machio, in their past lives. The streamer was excited to meet JiHan, but the fiery mage was mad because he lost a skill because of JiHan. JiHan was surprised to see the football player there. In the chat, fans talked about the football player being from Argentina. JiHan was confused because he remembered the football player as a mage in their past lives. The fiery mage was furious about seeing JiHan again after their past beef. Suddenly, a fan of the Sword King said they'd give 50k GP to the fiery mage if he smashed the crystal and stopped JiHan from winning. When the game started, the football player kicked the zombie in the face. He controlled the ball that came back from the zombie and asked JiHan to help him get stronger. But JiHan couldn't support him because he didn't have the right skills. So, he had to use his divine power to boost the whole team. Golden Streamer was excited about JiHan's power and buff skill. The mage was surprised why JiHan gave him a buff. JiHan told the mage to play properly this time. Golden Streamer asked the mage what happened between him and JiHan last time. The mage was scared of JiHan because JiHan threw him away last time, making him lose the game. This time, the mage was afraid of JiHan. Then, JiHan jumped down from the tower, surprising everyone. The football player was shocked by JiHan, and the mage already knew JiHan was crazy from last time. The mage was angry at JiHan and planned something bad against him. He got a message telling him to break the crystal and stop JiHan from winning first place. The reward for stopping JiHan was increasing over time. JiHan jumped into the group of zombies and used his fire magic with divine power. His sword swung through the zombies with explosive power, and blue fire burned them. At the tower, the football player and Golden Streamer were shocked by JiHan's power. Golden Streamer live-streamed JiHan's performance. JiHan killed all the zombies near him, making them disappear. More blood zombies attacked JiHan, but he used space-controlling force to restrict and control their movements. They couldn't move at all in his space. Most folks didn't know about JiHan's hidden strength, but he was used to it from his past life. He used to practice with Baron. Facing Baron's attacks over and over helped JiHan learn how to handle force. Now, in the game, JiHan used his divine and fire powers on his sword to slice through zombies, taking out over 100 of them. But he needed to defeat 1,000 zombies to complete the mission. JiHan sped up his movements, attacking all the zombies with incredible power. With one swift move, he wiped out all the remaining zombies. From the tower above, Golden Streamer and the football player watched in disbelief as JiHan unleashed his attack. The viewers cheered JiHan on, hoping he'd reach 200k subscribers and take first place. Meanwhile, the fire mage stayed quiet, planning to destroy the crystal. Golden Streamer noticed and alerted everyone. The fire mage erupted in anger, calling JiHan names and accusing him of terrible things. The viewers were shocked. JiHan remained calm, but his eyes glinted with a dangerous intensity. He was about to do something really bad. The fire mage is being really mean to JiHan and his niece, and he's planning to smash the crystal so JiHan loses his top spot in the game and misses out on a 55k GP reward. Jihan's eyes light up with anger because the fire mage insulted his niece. In a previous life, Jihan couldn't protect his niece because he was too weak, so now he's determined to keep her safe no matter what. He's vowed to punish anyone who hurts or insults her. Even though Jihan's not very powerful yet, he can use something called nameless divine arts. He feels this strong energy building up inside him. As the power from his 3 elixir fields combines, he gets a similar feeling to when he uses the nameless divine arts. He feels charged up, like he's part of a lightning storm. At that moment, on the tower, Sword King Fan gives a weapon to the fire mage and tells him to destroy the crystal because he knows Jihan is on his way. The fire mage shoots fire at Golden Streamer and warns him not to interfere. He threatens to burn down the whole tower if anyone tries to stop him. But Golden Streamer asks the viewers to subscribe to keep him and Jihan safe, and he's ready to fight the fire mage. So the fire mage is using all his power to smash the crystal and says goodbye to everyone. But suddenly, someone blocks his fire magic. Diego, the football player, steps in and blocks the fire magic. He talks to the fire mage, asking why he's trying to wreck the crystal. Diego takes the game seriously and can't stand by when someone's being bad to their team and their families. The fire mage gets really mad that his attack was blocked, and then Jihan suddenly appears behind him, which shocks the mage. Golden Streamer and Diego watch as Jihan shows his anger and power, demanding answers about the insults to Jihan's niece. The mage is scared and can't believe how fast Jihan got there. Jihan takes control of the mage and shuts him up. He thinks about killing him quickly, but he changes his mind. Instead, he decides to make the mage suffer more. If Jihan kills the mage, the only consequence will be the mage's level going down. So Jihan doesn't kill him right away. He tortures him more, causing him more pain and suffering. Jihan tortures the fire mage until he can't stand and starts begging for mercy. Golden Streamer and Diego also ask Jihan to stop the torture. Golden Streamer mentions that people usually use BattleNet connectors, which should minimize pain, but Diego points out something unusual and tells the streamer to look closer. Jihan is using a healing spell with one hand, creating a bug-like effect. When a healing skill is applied to a long-lasting damage over time, the effect like poison or burn, the connector gets overloaded, making the person feel 100% of the pain. That's why the fire mage is in such agony. Golden Streamer wonders why Jihan is causing so much pain. Jihan is using a martial arts technique that crushes bones and twists muscles from the inside, sending energy into the opponent's body and destroying it internally. This technique is rare and very painful, even with the best BattleNet connector that usually reduces pain by 95%. The fire mage feels as if his organs are being ripped apart or countless needles are piercing his body. Unable to bear the pain, he begs Jihan to kill him immediately. Suddenly, Jihan decapitates the fire mage. Jihan wonders if the mage will resurrect here. Golden Streamer is terrified of Jihan, and zombies start approaching him. The fire mage reappears, begging for safety, but then suddenly dies from shock and fear of Jihan. Jihan realizes that the mage couldn't handle the pain and fear, and he thinks he should control his strength better. The mage resurrects again, shouting at Jihan to stay away and begging him to stop. Jihan told the mage, "If you weren't ready to face the consequences, you shouldn't have done it." Suddenly, Saya, Jihan's niece, donated 10k GP and asked Jihan to stop, saying she was okay. She warned that if Jihan continued, he would lose viewers and urged him to focus on the game. Jihan realized Saya was calmer than he was, but he still felt it wasn't enough. However, he decided to stop. The fire mage begged for help. Jihan asked who gave him the courage to do these things. The fire mage confessed that the Sword King fan club had asked him to destroy the crystal and stop Jihan from being number one, offering 50k GP for it. The mage apologized for his actions. The Sword King fan club commented on the live stream, vowing to destroy JiHan and his family. JiHan grabbed the mage, thanked Saya for stopping him, and then threw the mage off the tower. Golden Streamer and Diego were happy with JiHan's actions. JiHan thought about continuing to hunt zombies, but the mission time was almost up. When JiHan opened the status window, he was shocked by a notification. It read, "Success. Cleared the chain quest, zombie source." Surprised, JiHan looked outside. All the zombies had been killed by the electricity from his lightning thunder step. The leap had generated so much energy that it eliminated the zombies around him. JiHan realized he had failed to control it properly, causing the remaining energy to explode. Although the result was good, he felt it wasn't perfect because he used his 3 elixir fields instead of the nameless divine arts. He knew he needed more training. Golden Streamer asked JiHan to join him after the game, but JiHan ignored him and thanked Diego for protecting the crystal. He told Diego to meet him next time. Suddenly, an earthquake shook the game. Everyone was shocked as a giant hand monster emerged from the ground, threatening to destroy everything. The ground suddenly split open, revealing a giant hand monster. Everyone was shocked, watching in horror as zombies accompanied the giant monster. The monster's powerful roar sent chills down JiHan's spine. But then the giant hand monster started eating the zombies, producing giant zombies from their remains. This stunned everyone, especially the streamer, who remarked that such a monster should only appear in gold-ranked games, not bronze. JiHan was particularly shocked as he watched the giant hand monster transform the eaten zombies into a flesh golem. This type of monster had never appeared at the bronze level before, making JiHan wonder if this was due to the chain quest. The quest, Zombies Source 2, defeat the flesh golem without the crystal's help, baffled JiHan. He didn't understand how to defeat the flesh golem without the crystal's aid. Just then, a message appeared. You have cleared the defense map 10 towers. This unlocked a bonus quest. Eliminate the flesh golem. Other team players were equally surprised by the bonus quest, deeming it impossible to kill the flesh golem created by the giant black hand. The crystal usually buffed players' power and strength, which was crucial for such battles. Golden Streamer asked JiHan if it was even possible to clear this quest. JiHan thought about the bonus reward, 10k points and a crystal fragment, realizing the bonus quest was an epic quest. The streamer was depressed about the daunting task ahead. But then JiHan took his sword, and both the football player and streamer looked at him. Viewers started commenting, questioning if JiHan was scared or if he had given up. JiHan, feeling the weight of everyone's expectations, stood firm. He knew he had to face the challenge head-on, not just for the rewards, but to prove himself and protect his team. He turned to the football player and the streamer, determination in his eyes. We're not done yet, JiHan said, gripping his sword tightly. Let's take down that flesh golem. JiHan unleashed his electricity and lightning powers, charging towards the flesh golem. Being undead, the golem was incredibly resilient and could only be killed by destroying the core at its center. However, with its massive body composed of various corpses, this was easier said than done. Even in the gold level, the flesh golem was considered a mid-difficulty boss, making the situation tough for JiHan and his team. JiHan instructed his teammates to move back as he leaped from the tower, his electrified footsteps cracking the ground. Both players were shocked by JiHan's power and agility. With precision and skill, JiHan attacked the flesh golem using a foundational technique of the nameless divine arts. This technique, known as the 3 talents, represented cuts from heaven, earth, and man, signifying vertical, horizontal, and piercing strikes, respectively. Following this, JiHan employed a technique representing the crushing force of Mount Tai, slicing through the flesh golem's entire body. The streamer and football player watched in awe as JiHan's performance unfolded. In his moment of triumph, JiHan delivered the final blow, eliminating the flesh golem with a powerful vertical cut. The viewers were stunned and erupted into cheers for JiHan's incredible feat. Even the streamer, initially filled with fear, despair, and anticipation, found himself overwhelmed with respect for JiHan. He realized that JiHan was more than just a subject for streaming. He was witnessing the birth of a legend. With a sense of determination, the streamer vowed to document JiHan's journey to the peak of greatness, eager to capture every moment of his rise to legend status. As JiHan returned to the tower, the crowd erupted into cheers, marking the beginning of a deep friendship between JiHan and Diego. It was a moment that would be remembered for a long time to come. For the other teams, the situation was dire. They couldn't defeat the flesh golem and giant zombies, and were ultimately destroyed by the giant zombie. The third tower failed the bonus quest, and soon, all towers failed except for JiHan's tower. JiHan and his team emerged victorious, having completed the quest. JiHan received triple the experience points and GP. He then asked Diego to meet outside the game to discuss Diego's abilities. Diego was surprised but eager to know what JiHan had to say. JiHan hinted at something important about mages and suggested that it wasn't safe to talk in-game. Diego agreed to meet outside, intrigued by JiHan's strength and curious about his advice. He was also thinking about his class and wanted to find a suitable role, so he looked forward to discussing this with JiHan. The golden streamer, impressed by JiHan, asked to join him, but JiHan declined. However, the streamer was determined to become JiHan's solid partner and editor. Despite his persistence, JiHan still refused and exited the game, leaving the streamer and Diego behind. At the Sword Palace, JiHan checked his reward message. He had cleared the chain quest, Zombie's Source 2, and earned 10k GP and a crystal fragment. He was pleased with the substantial reward, recognizing the difficulty of the quest. However, upon examining the crystal fragment, he felt disappointed. The fragment granted a single-use divine blessing, something typically used by the Apex support class, the Saints. This blessing was one of the best buffs, increasing all stats by 50%, and was essential in the highest leagues. But for JiHan, he could only use it once and only in bronze or silver leagues, which was underwhelming. On the bright side, finishing first had increased his GP and experience by an additional 50%, which was a significant boost. JiHan exited the game, feeling a mix of satisfaction and disappointment, and looked forward to his upcoming meeting with Diego. They would discuss strategies and abilities, paving the way for even greater achievements in the future. JiHan had reached level 13, with his martial power and force now at 17. He knew there were 12 levels left until he could participate in the silver promotion match. Suddenly, his sword began to react, indicating an increase in divine power by 1. This divine power was integrated into his force, but his stats didn't increase proportionally, revealing that divine power and force were not in a 1-to-1 ratio. Then, his otherworldly relic sword, unable to contain the remaining power, shattered. The explosion of the 3 elixir fields within the sword sent shards flying, and JiHan's shoulder was injured by the fragments. He tried to reabsorb the power, but the entire room lit up intensely. Meanwhile, in another building nearby, Takada, from Japan's Self-Defense Force Agency, was watching JiHan play while eating chicken. Takada had requested the Fire Mage to destroy the crystal and stop JiHan, pretending to be a member of the Sword King fan club. However, stopping JiHan was proving to be much harder than expected. Takada's failure to halt JiHan's progress frustrated him, especially after the Fire Mage failed the quest. Despite his anger, Takada saw JiHan's potential and wanted to recruit him due to his impressive skills. However, Takada's superiors demanded clear evidence before making a move, specifically wanting Jihan's status window to support Takada's claims. Time was running out for Takada, and he realized he needed a more sophisticated strategy. If he could obtain Jihan's status window and get approval from his company, Takada planned to recruit Jihan using their special method known as beauty. Jihan's divine power increased by 1, and it integrated into his force. He was surprised to see his force go up by 1. It took 3 divine power points to increase his force by 1, which also boosted his martial power by 1, bringing it to 18. After absorbing the remaining divine power from the sword shattered. Jihan thought it was a shame, even though the results were impressive overall. Suddenly, a message appeared. Jihan's force was now 18, and from now on, he could only absorb divine power from A-rank items or higher. Jihan found this frustrating since A-rank items were out of his reach for now. At that moment, Seiya entered the room, asking about the 50 million transfer to her account and noticing Jihan's injury and the mess. Jihan explained that his weapon had exploded, but reassured her not to worry. Seiya took Jihan to the living room to treat his wound. Jihan smiled, feeling happy. They then had dinner together. Seiya mentioned the large deposit and suggested that barbecue might be too cheap. She preferred steak. In his past life, Jihan had eaten a lot of steak and missed having barbecue in a casual setting. This was the first proper meal he had since his regression. Jihan thought that eating out occasionally was nice, but he still preferred Korean food. Seiya, however, wanted to eat expensive food like steak. Jihan promised they could have what she wanted next time. She then mentioned her plans to return to the academy, despite being the student council president and needing to relax. Jihan advised her to follow her teacher's advice and rest for a week. Seiya had her reasons. Her day to receive a blessing in the gift hall was approaching. Jihan remembered that her birthday was on August 22nd. In his past life, this day had been difficult for her. Seiya had hoped that receiving a good gift from the Academy's gift hall would improve her situation, but she had ended up with an F-rank gift. In his past life, the moment Seiya received an F-ranked gift was when her mentality collapsed. Reflecting on this, Jihan found it difficult to support her plan to return to the Academy. He knew if he told her she would get an F-rank gift again, it would break her heart, so he decided to lower her expectations bit by bit. Jihan asked if she planned to go to the academy the next day, and she confirmed she would, as it would be Monday. Jihan decided to drive her there, which surprised Seiya. Seiya initially resisted, saying she wasn't a kid and there was no need to worry. However, Jihan explained that the situation was complex and dangerous due to the Sword King fan club and the media. Seiya, reassured by Jihan's concern, felt happy, and Jihan laughed. The next morning, Jihan and Seiya were surprised to find that all the supercars were gone. Seiya had heard that the Sword King had sold them all, which explained why Jihan couldn't find any keys. Seiya suggested taking the bus, but Jihan spotted a small car in the corner. It was Seiya's mom's car. Jihan got in, found the key, and started the car, which was old and hadn't been used in a long time. The engine struggled, but eventually started. Jihan assured Seiya not to be embarrassed and asked her to get in. Though worried, she complied. At the academy, a big guy confronted Jihan, telling him to move his car. Seiya had feared this kind of reaction. At the Seoul Gangnam-gu Academy, the big guy insulted Jihan, saying he shouldn't park a shitty car there. Jihan got out and told the guy to watch his mouth, asserting his right to park there. The security guard and others recognized Jihan from the bronze level game. They were surprised and took photos, curious why Jihan was at the academy since the Sword King's daughter was on a break. The photos quickly spread online. Meanwhile, at the Twin Star Guild office, Gaeong was playing a game when a beautiful lady, accompanied by her bodyguard, decided to meet Jihan. She was determined to recruit him to her guild, passionate about making him obsessed with joining them. At Seiya's academy parking lot, JiHan encountered trouble with a big guy who couldn't believe a poor beggar like JiHan would come in such an old car. The big guy tried to punch JiHan, but Seiya got out of the car, and the security guard and others were shocked. JiHan stopped the punch mid-air using his force power. He then used his power to silence the big guy and put him on the ground. JiHan told him to stop cursing and that he was accompanying a student. Seiya urged her uncle to stop because everyone was watching. At that moment, someone called out to Seiya from a big car. It was her friend, Kim Hee-soo. Seiya and Hee-soo greeted each other warmly, as they hadn't met in a long time. Hee-soo asked her bodyguard what he was doing and then was surprised to see Seiya in the old car. She wondered why Seiya wasn't using one of her supercars. Seiya explained that her dad had sold all the supercars. Hee-soo offered to pick Seiya up next time and give her a ride to the academy. JiHan felt suspicious about Hee-soo's actions. In his past life, Seiya had no close friends. Something felt off. Meanwhile, the Twin Star Guild recruiter, a beautiful lady and her bodyguard, arrived at the academy looking for JiHan. The security guard told them JiHan had just left. The lady couldn't believe it, as she had arrived in less than 10 minutes. There was no way he had already gone. The beautiful lady was angry that everything had wrapped up in 10 minutes, worrying that foreign scouts might approach JiHan. Her bodyguard stopped her from biting her nails and told her to relax. The lady almost fell for her bodyguard and asked him what they should do next. The lady then opened her window and checked JiHan's live stream, tracking him in real time. JiHan is in a fierce battle, fighting against other players while viewers cheer him on to win first place. He delivers a powerful kick to a tank player, breaking the shield and sending the player flying. Focusing on the nameless divine arts foot technique, lightning thunder step, JiHan runs through all the players, killing them with swift, precise movements. JiHan notices that he has become more accustomed to the technique, feeling more confident in its use. Other players are shocked and afraid of JiHan, remembering how he defeated the flesh golem in the last tower defense battle with his vertical sword attack. For a bronze-level player, facing JiHan feels like being struck by lightning. Releasing his lightning power, JiHan covers the entire arena. The game ends with JiHan in first place. Viewers cheer for his victory, impressed by his skill. JiHan receives 200% experience and GP for achieving first place 5 times in a row, which he did not expect. As a result, his level increases by 2, bringing him to level 15. The next mission unlocks the dungeon game. This new map, available from level 15, involves clearing various traps and puzzles, unlike normal games where fighting is the primary objective. Even Battle Next recommends collaborating with party members for these dungeons, as solo play has clear limitations. However, JiHan faces a dilemma. Many people are targeting him, and if his party members sabotage him, there's little he can do. He briefly considers joining a guild but decides against it, knowing it would be troublesome to leave later. He plans to reach silver soon and intends to create his own guild when he gets there. At JiHan's apartment, he fries eggs for himself and his niece, Seiya. JiHan asks Seiya to set the plates, and they eat together. Seiya compliments JiHan on his cooking, saying his food is really good. JiHan smiles and promises to cook even better meals for her next time. JiHan then asks Seiya if her friend will pick her up for the academy. Seiya finishes eating and seems reluctant to talk about it. She explains that her friend, Hee-soo, made her uncomfortable on the way home, asking too many questions. JiHan senses something is off and listens carefully as Seiya continues. She adds that her mother's car is better and more comfortable. JiHan smiles and agrees with her. At the BattleNet Academy, JiHan and Seiya arrive to find many scouts and reporters waiting for JiHan. Seiya remarks that they drew too much attention yesterday. JiHan agrees, saying the reporters are more like stalkers. As they park, they notice the Twin Star recruiter, a beautiful lady, and her bodyguard waiting for JiHan. JiHan gets out of the car, wondering what she wants this time. The lady had arrived early and was waiting for him. Saya thinks the lady is too obsessed. The lady mentions that she gave JiHan her contact information, but he never reached out. Saya encourages her uncle, wishing him good luck. JiHan had forgotten about the contact card. The lady asks JiHan to give her some of his time. At the Academy Cafe, many reporters and recruiters watch JiHan and the lady, frustrated that she took the lead again. Despite having gold-level contracts, they feel disappointed. JiHan and the lady sit and talk. JiHan mentions that they're drawing a lot of attention by sitting in public. She doesn't mind, explaining that she's used to such attention as a parachute executive and a graduate of the academy. She finds JiHan's reaction surprising and difficult to accept. JiHan apologizes for not contacting her, admitting he forgot. She reveals that it's her first time chasing after someone, which surprises JiHan. Then, she calls her bodyguard, who presents a fitting contract for JiHan. She offers him a platinum contract. Other recruiters and reporters from other guilds are shocked and depressed when they see the platinum contract because they only brought gold contracts, and JiHan is only a bronze player. JiHan thinks about how much effort the lady has put into this. She is so confident, and it's clear this contract was possible due to her insistence. He realizes she is trying to seduce him with her beauty. Her bodyguard thinks the lady is very determined. Other guild recruiters begin to leave, feeling defeated. JiHan watches her and notices her perfume, which reminds him of someone named Zero from his past life. He begins to suspect that this lady, Heian, might be Zero. He wonders if everything about her is the same. Heian is puzzled by how relaxed JiHan is. His calmness in this situation is hurting her pride. She sits down, realizing she doesn't have his phone number. She decides to send him a sealed copy of the contract after he reviews it and asks how she should keep in touch. JiHan, sensing her discomfort, asks if she wants his number. Both Heian and her bodyguard feel awkward. Yes, Heian admits, I want your number. JiHan proposes a bet. He tells her he just reached level 15 and his next match will be a dungeon game. Heian and her bodyguard are surprised at how quickly he leveled up. After hitting level 15, the next game is always a dungeon game. Heian was curious when JiHan would reach this level. She's amazed he did it in just a month. But why a bet now? JiHan explains that if he doesn't finish in first place, he will sign the contract with Twinstar and give her his phone number. She warns him that many people are targeting him, and her bodyguard wonders if JiHan is entering the dungeon without a guild or party to back him up. JiHan replies, "It wouldn't be a good bet if I was sure to win." Heian agrees, but admits she's scared of what JiHan might ask if he wins. JiHan says, "If I win, I want to see your status window. I want to know if you are the Zero from my past life." He wants to see if she has the nurturing gift, just like Zero did. Heian is puzzled. Right now, the nurturing gift is considered useless. JiHan thinks it seems like she has it from the way she's reacting, but wants to check with his own eyes. She agrees and tells JiHan not to regret it later. She suggests they go somewhere else, but JiHan says there's no need. They can wait here, and he will be right back. JiHan logs into the game and starts a live stream. His fans welcome him back. The mission is in the Gungeon. In the Gungeon, the greater fire warrior who holds an arrow and bow and rides a horse waits at the end of the game. At the dungeon, the quest's difficulty is high. In the underground tomb of a legendary conqueror, there are many soldiers. This dungeon is known for the number of monsters that appear, and there are almost no traps or puzzles. Despite that, this dungeon has a reputation for being extremely difficult. To pass the game, every party member has to survive until the end, making who you are matched with very important. Player JiHan has entered, and the player's summoning has ended. These randomly assigned party members don't seem bad. The three players are surprised to see JiHan because he is famous and powerful. They seem to be from the same guild, and their equipment is good enough. They are honored to meet JiHan and greet him. One of the players wears the Black Eagle Guild logo, and viewers comment on their good manners and the Black Eagle Guild. The three players talk about finishing in first place and trying their best. The players want to take the lead, but JiHan takes charge and tells them not to worry and just follow him. They follow JiHan, who thinks it doesn't seem like there are any trolls this time. He was a bit worried about the clear condition, so he starts running on the underground first floor. Underground guards emerge from the ground in the tunnel. The players are surprised by the number of guards and know they have to defeat them all. One player asks JiHan what to do, suggesting using magic to clear the way. But JiHan says it's not necessary and tells them to follow him. Guards attack JiHan, but he moves quickly and punches them. JiHan defeats many guards using his punches. He grabs a guard's head, tells his members to follow him, and then breaks the guard's head. His team members are shocked by JiHan's fighting and attacking skills. In this game level, there are 10 passageways. Each team is placed in one of these passageways, and all the passageways connect to the underground 7th floor, the final part of the dungeon. JiHan's team is placed in the 8th passageway and takes an overwhelming lead. JiHan punches down the guards, and they are now on the 3rd floor. His team members are surprised and cheer him on, amazed at how easily he crushes the normally durable underground soldiers as if they were made of sand. JiHan thinks this is very easy, and the viewers comment that JiHan hasn't even used a weapon since his last match. Suddenly, Takada from Japan Guild donates 10k GP to JiHan. JiHan is surprised and wonders what Takada wants. Takada comments, asking JiHan to check his inbox because he sent messages. Other viewers are annoyed and angry at Takada because they worry he is trying to lure JiHan away from Korea. They don't want JiHan to leave. Meanwhile, JiHan kicks a guard and breaks it. He reassures his viewers that he won't leave for Japan and blocks Takada. JiHan's party members are impressed by him. They marvel at how he breaks such solid enemies while testing one of their swords. They thank JiHan for finishing all the enemies and express their desire to keep gaming with him. On the 4th floor, they encounter walls and floors filled with obvious traps. One member notes that it looks like every trap in the dungeon is gathered here. JiHan asks if they can handle moving faster, and the members agree. JiHan takes care of all the traps and leaves the rear to the members. However, these members are planning something bad. One member holds a sword and another an arrow. They want JiHan to leave them behind. When JiHan leaps forward, they plan to commit suicide to ensure he fails, as they have been promised a reward of 1 million GP. All the Black Eagle Guild members receive this quest from the Sword King FC, and Takada, whom JiHan had just blocked, is behind it all. Takada is watching JiHan's live stream from his apartment, planning to make JiHan fail again. He wasn't planning to use the same strategy twice, but spending money is all he can do now. He's sure JiHan will fail this time. Takada bought all the Black Eagle members out and instructed them to act discreetly. The moment JiHan leaps forward, he will fail, unless someone warns him ahead of time. At that moment, the Golden streamer is also watching JiHan's live stream, shining with excitement because he is a big fan of JiHan. JiHan moves quickly, with one party member following him. Arrows shoot from the wall traps towards JiHan, and his teammate shouts for him to dodge, offering to clear the arrows with his skill. JiHan is calm and uses his power to control the space with Force Absolute Domain. All the arrows stop in the air, shocking both the viewers and his teammates. One member notices the other two preparing to commit suicide and shouts to JiHan about their plan. JiHan is also shocked and, using his nameless divine arts footwork Lightning Thunder Step, stops them immediately. He uses his force power to put them on the ground and controls them so they cannot move. The teammate who followed JiHan asks if everything is okay. JiHan narrowly stopped the suicides in time. The members who tried to commit suicide blamed JiHan for stopping them, not realizing they all received the same quest. JiHan figures out that the moment one person commits suicide, the game ends, and the reward goes to only one. The teammate who followed JiHan apologizes, explaining that the members are all from the same guild. JiHan is glad he was able to stop them in time and tells the teammate there's no need to apologize. When the teammate tries to commit suicide, JiHan stops him using his force, realizing he also received the same quest. JiHan figures out the truth thanks to the Golden streamer, who warns JiHan by donating 10k GP with a message. All the Black Eagle Guild members had been bought out and were trying to commit suicide to receive 1,000,000 GP. The Golden streamer, a fan of JiHan, was watching the stream in real time, even keeping an eye on the streams of his teammates. That's when he saw the Sword King fan club giving the mission with 1,000,000 GP reward. The viewers comment on how crazy and bad the Sword King fan club is. The Golden streamer's warning helped JiHan prevent the planned suicides. Thanks to his reliable helper, JiHan was able to save the day. The Golden streamer donated 10k GP to send a message to JiHan, expressing his loyalty and asking JiHan to accept him as his editor. JiHan decides to punish the treacherous party members by using his force to crush their faces into the ground. He picks up his sword, ready to conclude the game. JiHan contemplates the situation, thinking that a guild with some reputation or another faction besides the Sword King's fan club must be involved. The viewers agree, noting that someone offering 1,000,000 GP to check JiHan's status window must be really obsessed with him. Suddenly, one viewer comments that it might be Takada, and the chat explodes with agreement. JiHan also suspects Takada, believing he is desperate enough to use dirty tactics to see JiHan's status window. JiHan decides to change his subscriber pledge from 200k to 1,000,000, while still aiming to keep the first place. The viewers are outraged at Takada because JiHan increased the subscriber goal. JiHan takes out a rope from his inventory and, with a determined look, ties up the party members who tried to commit suicide. In his mind, he thanks Takada for inadvertently helping him draw more attention and push his promise away from showing his status window. JiHan plans to leverage this situation to reach 1,000,000 subscribers. With the rope in hand, JiHan suddenly pulls the party members along with him as he moves faster. They are dragged along the ground and even fly into the air. As they move, soldiers emerge from the walls, ready to defend their emperor's rest. The environment turns dark as they reach the 6th floor, the penultimate level of the dungeon. JiHan ties up and drags the party members who tried to commit suicide to make him fail. The viewers are puzzled by their silence, not realizing JiHan used his force to shut their mouths. They marvel at JiHan's power, questioning how a bronze-level player could be so strong. 10 minutes earlier, the party members were shouting and trying to intimidate JiHan with the name of their Black Eagle Guild. JiHan pressed points on their bodies to weaken them, causing them to collapse. The viewers wonder how he managed this. JiHan had used an acupuncture technique, something only high-class warriors or martial artists could do. They are confused about how JiHan, supposedly a support-type player, could perform such feats. As the party members realize they might be dragged around by JiHan indefinitely, one of them tries to mention JiHan's niece to scare him. However, JiHan shuts his mouth before he can speak, silencing him effectively. The party members are in pain from being dragged across the floor, but JiHan heals them to keep them alive. JiHan focuses on his plan. He's now on the 6th floor, and after finishing it, only the final boss remains. Soldiers emerge from the walls, filling the dark floor with clay warriors. They surround JiHan and prepare to attack. The party members are terrified as the soldiers try to cut them down, but JiHan steps in, defending and defeating the soldiers. JiHan throws the party members away from the soldiers and engages in battle. He kills all the soldiers with his sword. Suddenly, The soldiers' eyes begin to glow, and the tomb starts shaking. The party members are even more terrified as more soldiers emerge from the walls to protect the emperor. The situation grows increasingly dire. JiHan observes the soldiers' frenzied state, wondering how to handle the escalating chaos. JiHan receives a quest to kill all the soldiers and earn 1,000 achievement points. It's been a while since he last got a quest like this, not since the defense map. To protect his party members, JiHan creates a shield around them. He tests the shield with his sword, combining it with his force, making it even more solid. With the shield in place, JiHan no longer needs to worry about their safety. He then unleashes his full power, activating Force Absolute Domain. No matter how many times JiHan uses this ability, it always amazes him. Within the Absolute Domain, the soldiers' movements become sluggish. With just a gesture, JiHan can neutralize all of them at once. This domain is his to control. JiHan is disappointed that Baron only used such a powerful ability as a mere stronger version of magic power. Determined to finish the fight quickly, JiHan swings his sword, combining his force and magic. The attack is so powerful that it sends all the soldiers flying through the air, defeating them instantly. With the soldiers defeated, JiHan completes the quest and passes the level. The Conqueror's tomb can only be cleared if every party member survives. The boss welcomes JiHan, reminding them that the essence of gold is to be stolen, whether it be taken from someone or lost to someone. They must pay respect to the boss to clear the final stage and receive their rewards. JiHan's viewers cheer as he reaches the boss stage on the underground 7th floor. All 4 players must bow on the silver rings to proceed. JiHan throws his party members to the ground, then uses his force to untie the ropes and make them stand and move on their own. Currently, JiHan's force stat is 18, which increases the range and influence of his Force Absolute Domain. He positions himself near the center, ensuring all members are within his domain's range, and makes them pay respect to the statue boss. The statue acknowledges their respect and declares the dungeon cleared. It tells them to return plundered. The exit portal opens, signaling the end of the dungeon. The party members, thinking about the million GP they failed to secure, at least take solace in finishing first. However, they wonder why JiHan is not moving. The game only ends when they exit the dungeon. JiHan stands firm, deep in thought. He has cleared the 7th floor, but he knows there's more to consider beyond just finishing the game. His eyes remain focused, ready for what comes next. JiHan stands smiling, watching as a hidden quest is revealed. Paying proper respects to the Conqueror's statue offers a reward of 5,000 achievement points. He thinks 5,000 points is huge and notices the Conqueror's arrow, which is so big it looks like a spear. This impressive arrow is being offered as a reward. His party members wonder why JiHan is standing around and what he'll do if another team arrives. Suddenly, JiHan grabs one member and says to the statue, "I will pay proper respects," then throws the member towards the statue. The statue kills the player by shaking its horse head. Everyone is shocked by JiHan's action. The statue asks JiHan, "Are you talking about me?" JiHan replies, "The plunderer of plunderers. I want to pay proper respect to you. I don't want something like gold that can be found anywhere. I want something with real value, like that arrow you're holding," pointing to the boss statue's arrow. The boss statue laughs loudly, clearly impressed by JiHan. He rates JiHan very highly and declares, "I shall gift you, the one who paid me proper respects, my treasure." JiHan prepares himself, picking up his sword and standing in defense as the boss statue gets ready to shoot the arrow. The statue aims and fires the massive arrow, and JiHan prepares to catch the plunderer of plunderer's phoenix arrow. JiHan tries to catch the phoenix arrow from the boss statue. The heat emitted from the boss is so intense that the party members can barely breathe and start to burn. JiHan worries they will die, not because he cares about them, but because their weapons will disappear with them, including the sword he is using. JiHan realizes he has to finish this quickly. The heat is so intense that even gold is melting. One member has already died from the heat. JiHan feels the heat and knows the arrow is too powerful to defend against directly. Instead, he targets the bow before the boss can shoot the arrow. Recalling a technique taught by a sage long ago, which points the way with precision and speed, JiHan uses an instant stab to break the boss's bow. The shot goes astray and hits the ground instead of JiHan. The boss's bow is broken. Impressed, the boss asks JiHan for his name. JiHan answers, and the boss grants him the Phoenix Arrow as a reward for showing proper respect. JiHan receives the Phoenix Arrow, which is so large it looks like a spear. The boss tells JiHan he hopes for a more honorable battlefield next time, then disappears. JiHan tests the Phoenix Spear and feels good about it. He thinks he could remove the feather at the tail end and use it as a spear. The viewers wonder how JiHan stopped the boss's arrow and obtained the Phoenix Arrow. They speculate about the technique JiHan used. They don't know that the technique, called Sage Guidance, is near instant and uses thin sword ki to precisely target a point. JiHan can control his divine nameless power better now. The first time he used it, it was unstable and wasted a lot of strength. But with practice, it becomes more efficient and precise. If he continues like this, he will be able to use higher techniques soon. JiHan receives a quest notification that he has been recognized by the Conqueror and is exempted from the underground 7th floors. The mission is over, and only one party member is left. When JiHan looks at his status window, he sees the member apologizing. Without hesitation, JiHan kills the remaining member using his Phoenix Spear. A message appears, a party member has died. JiHan exits the game, and reporters and recruiters are stunned to see he finished in first place. They're also amazed that he acquired the Phoenix Arrow from a bronze dungeon. A beautiful lady and her bodyguard from the Twin Star Guild are in shock. JiHan asks if they watched the live stream and proudly tells them he finished first again. The bodyguard is still getting used to JiHan's exceptional performance, and the lady is equally amazed. JiHan then asks the lady to show him her stat window, reminding her of their promise. She's nervous because JiHan's Phoenix Spear is glowing with powerful energy, and both she and her bodyguard are scared. The lady has no choice but to keep her promise. She reluctantly tells JiHan not to regret seeing her stat window and reveals it to him. JiHan smiles, as expected. He finds a special gift that can help nurture other players. The lady, feeling shy, asks JiHan not to spread rumors about her stat. Her bodyguard is concerned because the lady dislikes talking about her gift, which she received after spending a lot of money and effort at an academy. In the past, while in a car, she expressed her disappointment about getting the nurture gift after spending so much money and praying for days. She felt terrible and regretted going to that academy. JiHan, still smiling, reassures her that he's not laughing at her gift but actually likes it. She is shocked and shy at his response. Then, JiHan asks for her phone number. Surprised, she wonders why he's asking for it. Although she had already given him a contact card, which he lost, she gives him her phone number again. She thinks JiHan isn't interested in her and is probably only interested in her gift, Nurture. Despite feeling like she's being messed with, she includes a heart emoji with her phone number, fulfilling her duty as the director of Twin Star Guild, Lee Ha-yun. JiHan notices the heart emoji and says he'll contact her later, maintaining a simple expression, which makes her feel mocked and annoyed. At the academy, Seiya is watching her uncle JiHan's live stream in her classroom. Her roommates cheer for her uncle, amazed at how incredible he is. However, her best friend, Hisu, looks upset and bites her lip in anger. One of Seiya's friends comments on how different her uncle JiHan is now compared to when they visited her house last month. Back then, he was an unemployed drunk. but now he's completely transformed. Another friend asks Seiya to introduce her to her uncle, impressed by his new success. Seiya is happy to see her uncle maturing. Hisu, however, changes the topic and reminds Seiya about her special day coming up, her 18th birthday, the day she'll officially become a player. Upon turning 18, everyone awakens as a player and unlocks a status window. Seiya's friends cheer her on, telling her not to be nervous and that she'll soon be able to join them in battles. At Battle Next Academy, students receive education and training in anticipation of their awakening day, and the gift hall is the academy's focal point. Gifts are the most important aspect for students. Other students speculate that Seiya will receive an A or at least an S rank gift, considering her lineage. Her father is SSS rank, her mother is an SS rank saintess, and her uncle has been breaking records in every game. Rumors suggest his gift is at least R rank. Feeling uncomfortable, Seiya reminds them that there is no connection between genetics and gifts. Despite her brave front, she feels uneasy and worries about the rank of her gift. With her birthday on the 22nd and today being the 13th, there's not much time left. Seiya is nervous and worried. Hisu tries to comfort her, telling her everything will be fine and to stay calm until her birthday. Although Seiya says she doesn't need any presents, Hisu has a different plan. She wants to destroy and humiliate Seiya. Meanwhile, in Tokyo, Japan, at the Inyo Self-Defense Forces first training room, the Sword King is showcasing his prowess by defeating all players with his dual swords. Examiners and trainers marvel at his strength, noting that he has become even stronger. They review his stats, which are all higher than before. They are eager to see the Sword King's first international match as a Japanese player, especially looking forward to the competition between Korea and Japan. Night at the Twin Star Guild building, Lady Lee was in her office, shouting into her phone about her arranged marriage. Her father had chosen a rich, old man for her, but she didn't want to marry him. She wanted to decide who to marry, which is why she left home. Frustrated, she ended the call. Her bodyguard asked if she was okay. Lady Lee, still angry, snapped that she was not. She paced the room, thinking about the terrible meeting with the bald man her father had set up, initially mistaking him for someone else. The bodyguard sympathized, saying even the ultra-rich have problems. Lady Lee appreciated the support and felt guilty for keeping her bodyguard busy. She told her bodyguard to rest, but the bodyguard insisted on staying, saying it was her duty to protect Lady Lee until she inherited the Twin Star Group. Determined to be independent, Lady Lee talked about making her own money through legal match predictions. The bodyguard warned that while it might be legal, it wasn't reliable, reminding her of past losses. Confidently, Lady Lee said she would succeed this time by betting on the Korea-Japan match. Despite most people believing Japan would win, Lady Lee was sure of her choice, driven by her desire to control her own life. Suddenly, Lady Lee's phone buzzed with a message from JiHan. Her face turned red as she read it, puzzled by the late hour. Her shock grew as she saw the contents. At a restaurant in Korea, JiHan and football player Diego were enjoying Korean beef. Diego, tasting the meat for the first time, commented on its likely expense. JiHan encouraged him to order anything he wanted. Diego chose wine, and his face lit up as he enjoyed it, reflecting on his fall from stardom due to Battle.net, which led to his family leaving him. Impressed by Diego's fluency in Korean, JiHan listened as Diego shifted the conversation to his future. Diego mentioned that his gift required soccer ball-shaped equipment, showing an SSS rank status of God of Soccer, but admitted his lack of talent as a mage and poor magic power stat. JiHan handed him Arachne's Orb, a B-rank magic item made of elastic spider silk, perfect for Diego's gift. Surprised by its value, Diego hesitated, but JiHan insisted, offering financial support as well. Diego, stunned, asked why. JiHan explained he wanted Diego to join his guild, which he planned to form after being promoted to silver level. Diego pointed out the significant financial requirements, but JiHan confidently showed his phone, indicating he would have enough soon. Seeing JiHan's bet on the Korean team against Japan, Diego thought he had lost his mind. Back at the Twin Star Guild building, Lady Lee stared at her phone, reading JiHan's match prediction: 1 victory and 3 losses for Korea. She doubted the prediction, knowing no one believed Korea could win against the Sword King. As the match began, the Sword King stood ready with his dual swords, and the crowd outside cheered for the players. When JiHan showed his betting slip to the Korean team, Diego was shocked and surprised. "How can Korea win the match?" he asked JiHan, his eyes wide with disbelief. Diego wasn't criticizing the Korean team, but rather the fact that the Japanese team had Sword King. He explained that Sword King was an absolute powerhouse who could single-handedly overwhelm an entire team. Having someone like him on the opposing team seemed like a huge disadvantage. JiHan understood Diego's concerns and decided to show him the match on TV. "Sometimes you have to see it to believe it," he said as they watched together. In the match, both the Japanese and Korean teams had 4 players each. The goal was simple: defeat all enemy opponents. Overall victory would be determined by whichever team won 3 out of 5 rounds. Sword King, a formidable figure, tried to rally his Japanese teammates to follow his lead. However, they refused to listen, resenting Sword King for taking the place of their friend Seiji on the team. When Sword King approached them, they ignored him, causing tension to rise. Suddenly, the Korean team launched an unexpected attack on Sword King using divine punishment. Both the Japanese and Korean teams were shocked by this turn of events. Despite being hit, Sword King retaliated, nearly defeating the Korean team. But before he could finish them off, he made a startling decision. In a desperate attempt to make his teammates realize the importance of unity and following his lead, Sword King took his own life. It was a shocking and tragic end to the match, leaving both teams stunned and uncertain of what would happen next. The crowd watching the game was stunned by what they saw. Even Diego, watching alongside JiHan, was taken aback. He turned to JiHan, his eyes wide with surprise, demanding to know how JiHan knew about it. JiHan couldn't explain. It was a memory from his past life, something he couldn't easily share, even though the outcome was the same. In the first game, the Korean team systematically defeated each member of the Japanese team, securing a victory for Korea. Lee Jinwook emerged as the MVP, delivering the final blow to Sword King. In the tunnel afterward, tensions ran high among the Japanese team. They blamed Sword King for their loss, angered by his decision to take his own life. Sword King, unfazed by their anger, criticized them for their lack of professionalism. He made it clear that he wouldn't stay on the team if they didn't respect his leadership. The Japanese team faced a tough choice: either accept Sword King's authority and have a chance to win, or reject him and face certain defeat. As the second match began, the Korean team members were unsure of what to expect from Sword King. Would he take his own life again? But Sword King stood firm on the battlefield, emanating an aura of determination. The atmosphere changed completely. Sensing the danger, the Korean team leader urged his members to stay alert. But before they could react, Sword King swiftly struck down 2 Korean team members with a single stroke. Everyone, including JiHan, was shocked by the sudden and unexpected attack. The game had taken an unexpected turn, leaving everyone stunned and unsure of what would happen next. Sword King slashed vertically, cutting down the Korean captain. The Korean spectators watched in fear, while the Japanese fans celebrated, chanting Sword King's name. With just 2 attacks, Sword King Ryuhei had defeated the South Korean team, evening the score to 1-1. The 4th round began. The Japanese team had won the 3rd round, making the score 2-1 in their favor. The Korean team member ran toward Sword King, determined to put up a fight this time. In the 3rd round, Sword King had defeated all 4 Korean members in a one-sided match that was hard to watch. Now, the Korean captain charged at him again, ordering his teammates to keep the pressure on and not give Sword King a chance to counterattack. One Korean member used magic to bind Sword King's hands. Seeing this, the Korean captain and others launched their attacks. But Sword King defended himself with telekinesis, moving his sword despite his bound hands. The Korean captain was shocked to see him move like that. Sword King broke the chains holding him and swiftly killed the Korean captain with a single slash. The Korean support mage was stunned, and before he could react, Sword King slashed his throat, ending the match. 2 other Korean players tried shooting arrows and casting magic at Sword King. But the Korean archer was quickly killed by a Japanese player, and the remaining Koreans, too focused on Sword King, forgot about the other Japanese players. Suddenly, the Japanese archer was surprised to see Sword King appear mid-air behind the Korean player, using the sword flight technique to fly. The Korean player mocked Sword King, saying he only practiced looking cool since moving to Japan, but admitted that the flying sword technique was impressive. Sword King retorted, "If your skills were as good as your talking, you wouldn't be struggling like this." Enraged, the Korean player unleashed a powerful lightning spell, spreading across the battlefield and targeting Sword King. But Sword King, wielding both swords, tested a new technique. He threw his large golden sword at the Korean player, causing a massive explosion that shocked the spectators. The ground was left with a huge crater, demonstrating the power of Sword King's attack. The match ended with Japan winning 3-1. On TV, Jihan and Diego watched in astonishment. Diego was amazed by how accurately Jihan had predicted the outcome. "How did you know?" Diego asked, eyes wide. "I saw it in a dream," Jihan replied with a smile. Diego, still in disbelief, asked how much Jihan had won. Jihan responded that he had won quite a bit. While earning a mountain of money was satisfying, Jihan didn't expect Sword King's final move to be so powerful. Sword King was stronger than Jihan remembered. At this rate, Jihan realized he might not be able to defeat Sword King. Even his nameless divine arts might not be enough. After all, Sword King had an SSS rank gift, Twin Sword Peak. But Jihan was determined. No matter how strong Sword King became, Jihan vowed to become even stronger. Their paths would cross again soon enough. The Twin Star Guild director, a beautiful lady named Heian, was in shock as she looked at her phone. She had followed Jihan's prediction for the Korea-Japan match, and to her amazement, she won her bet. A 37 times payout meant her $5,000 had turned into about $200,000. She never imagined a day like this would come. "Thank you, Jihan," she whispered to herself, smiling. Thanks to Jihan, Heian earned almost $180,000. However, she still ended up about $20,000 in the negative overall. She had bet heavily against South Korea, sure they would lose 0-3, and ended up losing $200,000 on that surety. Not only had she lost $20,000, but she also felt like she had lost her bright future. Meanwhile, at a restaurant, Jihan and Diego were discussing today's main topic. Jihan looked at Diego. "How about making a contract with me?" Diego was puzzled. "Why would someone like you want to make a contract with me? Am I really worth that much?" Jihan smiled. "Just like I predicted the match's outcome, I'm confident about this decision too." Diego was surprised by Jihan's confidence. Jihan then handed him the best ball item and said, "With this, you will become the world's strongest mage. This contract is just an investment. Come with me." Diego was shocked. He couldn't remember the last time someone had shown such faith in him. He missed that feeling. Diego remembered the time when he scored goals for his team, feeling like an essential part of the group. The cheers from fans and teammates still echoed in his mind. But after BattleNet became popular, he thought he would never experience that again. When Jihan offered him a contract, it felt like a new ray of hope. There was no reason for Diego to refuse. They agreed and signed the contract. Diego promised Jihan that he would repay him 10,000 times over. Jihan appreciated Diego's determination. "I look forward to that day," he said. At the game arena, a player tried to attack someone but was quickly killed by a stronger opponent. That opponent was the beautiful lady's bodyguard from the Twin Star Guild, Gaeong. She defeated the player effortlessly. 2 more players attacked her, but she dispatched them with ease using her sword. The game ended with Gaeong finishing in first place. Gaeong thought, 5 kills for first place. Not bad, but not enough. She compared herself to the high-ranking Sword King, who displayed overwhelming power during the Japan-Korea match, and Jihan, who was becoming an undefeated legend. She felt she was still far behind. "I've been slacking off since joining the Twin Star Guild. I need to do better," she resolved. In another scene, Seiya was watching the news about the Sword King defeating Korea. She felt bad, and Hisu asked if she was okay. Seiya insisted she was fine, but Hisu knew she was lying from her expression. "I want to stay with you today," Hisu offered. Seiya declined, thanking Hisu for taking her home. "My uncle is busy, so I was worried about getting back." Hisu then asked Seiya about her suggestion. "If you're okay with it, I'll start preparing right away." Seiya was unsure, but Hisu reassured her. There's no reason to refuse. As they were talking, the car suddenly stopped, and Hisu hit the seat because she wasn't wearing a seatbelt. "What's happening?" she asked the driver. The driver was shocked, staring ahead. Seiya looked too, shocked to see people standing in front of her apartment. Who are they? She wondered. Jihan leapt and sprinted across the rooftop, testing his speed. He felt much lighter now, enjoying the beautiful view from the top of the building. He relaxed, watching people walk on the street below. As he took in the scenery, memories of his past life in the U.S. flooded back, where he often relaxed on rooftops. This reminded him of the Sword King. In reality, Jihan never got the chance to fight the Sword King. Back when half the countries on Earth had disappeared, Jihan rose to become one of the high rankers. The Sword King, the top-ranking warrior, had vanished without a trace. Jihan still didn't know why he disappeared, but the memory lingered. Determined to become even stronger than in his past life, Jihan knew he had to master the full nameless divine arts as soon as possible. Feeling rested, he prepared to move on. Meanwhile, at the Seiya building, the driver shouted at some strangers blocking their way. These strangers were reporters, aggressively recording and demanding an interview with Seiya. They were so forceful that the driver couldn't stop them. Inside the car, Seiya and her friend Hisu were in shock. Seiya was too stunned to speak, but Hisu shouted back at the reporters. They bombarded Seiya with questions about the Sword King, causing her to tremble with fear. The driver tried to hold them back, but it was a difficult task. The reporters were relentless. Seiya started crying, but Hisu looked oddly pleased, as if she had planned this. Just then, someone approached and called the reporters useless trash. It was Jihan. Angry at how the reporters were treating his niece, Jihan used his power to push them away from the car. They fell to the ground, complaining that they had the right to ask questions as reporters. Jihan told them he was being gentle because they were reporters and let them go since it was their first offense. The reporters, scared of Jihan, didn't argue. Jihan opened the car door and helped Seiya out. She was terrified. Jihan smiled at her and said, "Let's go home." He thanked the driver for protecting Seiya, and the driver, proud of his duty, said it was nothing. Hisu told Jihan to take care of Seiya, and Jihan thanked Hisu for watching over her. Jihan and Seiya went back to their apartment, leaving Hisu and the driver behind. After they left, Hisu laughed loudly, barely holding back her amusement. The reporters noticed her. She was the granddaughter of the CEO of Taewon Daily, Korea's #1 media outlet. It was clear Hisu had planned the whole incident to cause trouble for Seiya. In another scene, the Sword King gave an interview where he claimed he had abandoned his past and moved to Japan, denying having any daughter. That interview explained all the commotion. The reporters were aggressively questioning Seiya because of it. Jihan watched the interview and felt a surge of anger. He didn't know how to lift Seiya's spirits as her expression darkened once again. Suddenly, Seiya turned to Jihan and reminded him of a promise she had made to help find the Shadow Queen. Now, she was ready to fulfill that promise. Jihan was taken aback. Seiya confidently said she believed she had found the Shadow Queen and showed Jihan something on her phone. As Jihan looked at the phone, he was shocked by what he saw. The game is about to start. In the arena, Jihan grips his phoenix spear, ready to break the barrier. In the chat, viewers are saying Jihan is up to something weird again. Jihan looks around and spots an elf in a black dress. It's the Shadow Queen. Yesterday, Seiya showed Jihan something strange on her phone. The elf in the black dress stood out to him. Seiya wasn't completely sure, but she thought it was the Shadow Queen. Jihan asked why Seiya thought this elf was the Shadow Queen. Seiya explained that the Shadow Queen was usually expected to be sitting on a throne, looking royal, but this elf was different. She showed Jihan a close-up of the elf's eyes. They were entirely black, unlike the other elves who had dark eyes but not completely black. Jihan agreed, and Seiya added more. Before each game, this elf always stared at the person who would win. Jihan was surprised by this. Seiya noticed that the Shadow Queen always looked at the eventual winner before the game started, as if she could see the future. She reviewed other matches and confirmed this pattern to Jihan. Jihan thought this was odd and not just a coincidence. Then Seiya showed him the most important video. In the video, Seiya pointed out the shadows beneath the elf's feet. Even though the quality was grainy, it looked like shadows were coming from her. Jihan decided it was worth investigating and praised Seiya for her hard work. Seiya had been looking into this carefully. Jihan told her she was working too hard, but Seiya brushed off his concern, saying it was nothing and she didn't have much else to do. Jihan thanked Seiya and promised to test her theory in the next game. Seiya was pleased. Then Jihan said it was time for him to keep his promise, surprising Seiya. He asked her what she wanted, saying he would grant her wish. She smiled and revealed her wish. In the game, Jihan used his phoenix spear to kill a goblin and crack the ground. With 10 kills, he was confident he would finish in first place. Now, he decided it was time to break the barrier protecting the stands. In the chat, viewers wondered if Jihan was really going to break the barrier. This barrier, as strong as diamond, separated the stadium from the stands, protecting the elves from attacks. Outside the barrier, the Shadow Queen watched Jihan closely. Jihan grabbed his spear and took a stance to break the barrier. The spear was an A-rank weapon, and it was risky to waste one of its uses on a throw, but he wanted to break the barrier using his Strab skill. He positioned himself and used the 3 talents technique, shooting at the barrier. At first, nothing happened. Jihan kept trying, repeatedly using the 3 talents technique. Finally, the barrier cracked a small hole. Jihan quickly used Wanderer's Eye to look inside before the barrier could regenerate. He saw the Shadow Queen and was suddenly surrounded by darkness. A light appeared behind him, and as he turned around, he was shocked by the energy coming from the shadows. The sun rises, and Jihan is still in bed, feeling tired and thinking about the game where he experienced the shadow energy. It was impressive, even considering his life before he regressed. That power will be immensely helpful. Jihan opens the achievement shop and upgrades it to level 5 with the points he saved. Jihan now picks more constellations while checking his status window. He bought an extra title slot since he reached level 22. He was only 3 levels away from participating in the silver match. He has force, martial power, and titles, so his promotion is almost guaranteed. He bought the extra title slot because he wanted the martial god's successor title, which he would earn after reaching level 30 and obtaining the nameless divine arts. This title would connect him with the wandering martial god and automatically grant him the title. It's the title JiHan used before his regression. He needs to get it again at all costs, because he will soon have to fight against the guy who uses force power in the USA. Now, JiHan and Seiya are in the city center, looking for a new apartment. There are many prestigious schools around. The apartment agent is showing them a place, but Seiya thinks it's too small. JiHan realizes that Seiya doesn't like the apartment because she has lived in the Sword Palace's penthouses her entire life. A normal apartment wouldn't satisfy her. Still, JiHan can't believe her wish was to move out of the Sword Palace. Thinking back to the last time he asked Seiya's wish, she wanted to move out of the Sword Palace. She couldn't wait to leave it behind because it reminded her too much of her dad. Being there was probably difficult for her. Now, JiHan and Seiya are looking at a new apartment, and the agent is showing them a bigger room. JiHan tells the agent they need a house with more space because his niece, Seiya, will be a player soon as well, so they need room for a connector. The agent agrees and searches for more houses. He tells Seiya she has a great uncle, and the agent is also JiHan's fan. JiHan thanks him, but the agent says he's the one who is thankful. JiHan is surprised by what he said. The agent explains that he used to be part of the Sword King fan club, but left after the Sword King went to Japan. After that, he was worried about Seiya's well-being and imagined she might be having negative thoughts. He feels relieved now and congratulates Seiya on her awakening, hoping for a great gift. Seiya's eyes fill with tears, and she feels sad. JiHan thinks Seiya is not okay due to the last accident when reporters violently recorded her. She is under pressure about her awakening, and the whole country is watching. If she gets an F-rank gift, she will feel depressed, and the attention will turn toxic. This leads to her death in JiHan's past life. So, JiHan is thinking about how to prevent that from happening, especially dealing with the reporters. Next scene, Hisu is talking with a reporter about Seiya's birthday and her awakening gift on August 22nd. Hisu wants the reporters to visit the Academy's gift hall and interview Seiya. Hisu is planning something bad for Seiya. In the room, another person tells Hisu she is hypocritical because she is the granddaughter of the first media company. He asks why Hisu hates Seiya so much. She explains that Seiya treats her as an equal, but Seiya is just a peasant if it weren't for Battle.net. He asks why Hisu wants to interview someone she hates. She explains that the interview will be breaking news, and if Seiya gets a trash gift, Hisu will have a good reason to bully her. Hisu then shows her brother a picture of Seiya's uncle, JiHan, and tells her brother he needs to beat JiHan because JiHan always protects Seiya. Her brother replies with a bad smile, saying he can easily beat JiHan and asks Hisu to make sure to keep her promise. Hisu agrees that after he beats JiHan, he can do anything he wants with Seiya. At the Battle.net Academy, just 14 hours before Seiya's gift awakening, Hisu forced Seiya to agree to an interview, even though Seiya didn't want to do it. Seiya had already told Hisu she wasn't interested, but Hisu insisted, hoping the interview would help cover recent criticism about the Sword King. Seiya thanked Hisu for her consideration but still declined and walked away to the bathroom. Hisu was furious because she had a malicious plan in mind. She had arranged the interview to coincide with Seiya's awakening. A week ago, Hisu had been discussing Seiya with two friends, revealing her true feelings. Her friends believed Hisu was Seiya's best friend, but Hisu denied it. She confessed she wanted to ruin Seiya, leveraging her family's media company to capture Seiya's downfall. Hisu hoped Seiya would receive an F-rank gift, which would shatter her spirit, and planned to publish a photo of Seiya's dazed expression. Unbeknownst to them, Seiya overheard the entire conversation from the bathroom. Seiya was initially shocked by Hisu's betrayal, but soon became more anxious about the possibility of receiving an F-rank gift. She desperately hoped for anything else. 5 hours before her awakening, JiHan checked his watch, aware that time was running out. He headed to the gift hall, where bodyguards were stationed to ensure Seiya's safety, keeping the media and other outsiders at bay. The day before, JiHan had discussed the security situation with Manager Park, who suggested reinforcing security due to concerns about potential infiltration. The government also agreed to increase security around Seiya. Upon arriving at the gift hall, JiHan saw that preparations were complete. He sat down, anxiously waiting for Seiya's awakening. He had a present ready for her, his niece. 5 minutes before Seiya's awakening, JiHan heard a familiar voice. It was Hisu, accompanied by a reporter who was recording everything. JiHan was surprised because no outsiders were allowed in the area. He confronted Hisu, who claimed her media company had a lot of influence and that she was there for an important reason. JiHan saw through her lies and demanded she leave, warning her that Seiya would be leaving with him as soon as she received her gift. This was his first and last warning to Hisu. The reporter felt scared of JiHan and had a bad feeling about this situation. But Hisu didn't give up and still wanted to interview Seiya. JiHan warned her that he would have to act if she kept insisting. Hisu pretended to be weak, saying she couldn't fight JiHan and wanted to make headlines about a level 27 supporter being ambushed by a level 50 warrior. Just then, her brother appeared behind JiHan and punched him. Outside the gift hall, Hisu's brother, a level 50 warrior, punched JiHan hard. Inside the gift hall, Seiya received an F-rank gift. She felt devastated, thinking her life was over, and she cried. Hisu's brother told JiHan to stay down and shut up, saying he would take care of Seiya. JiHan was furious that this man dared to talk about his niece. He resisted the attack, surprising Hisu's brother, who thought JiHan would be easy to defeat. JiHan fought back, punching the man and realizing his skin was as tough as stone. The man punched JiHan again and mocked him, asking if he still felt confident. Hisu and the reporter recorded the fight. The man seemed to be winning, saying JiHan had lost touch with reality because of all the praise he received and kept punching him. But JiHan countered with an uppercut, shocking Hisu and the reporter. Then, JiHan used his power to lift the man by his hair without touching him. JiHan told them they looked and acted like common criminals and vowed to make sure they never dared to do something like this again. He pulled the man's hair completely out, causing the reporter to run away, and Hisu to stand in shock. JiHan then threw the man towards Hisu, who was furious and shocked because her plan was ruined. Inside the gift hall, Seiya was breaking down because of her F-rank gift. She cried, feeling sad and trying to encourage herself, knowing her uncle was waiting outside. She worried about what people would think and say about her F-rank gift, fearing she would be stuck in bronze. When she opened the door, she was shocked to see her uncle JiHan holding the man's hair and throwing him away. The man was now bald. Seiya asked JiHan what was happening. JiHan explained that Hisu and her brother were planning bad things against her. Hisu yelled at JiHan, holding her brother's bald head, and said her grandfather was the CEO of a top media company. JiHan threw the man's hair at Hisu, not caring about her threats. He told her not to mess with him. Hisu, not giving up, threatened to spread fake news to ruin JiHan's family. She said nobody would even look at them without disgust, and that people already had a bad opinion of the Sword King. Seiya felt even sadder, but JiHan told Hisu to go ahead, saying he could simply leave South Korea. Hisu was surprised by his confidence. JiHan then threatened Hisu, saying her family would have to pay for their crimes. Hisu didn't believe him and didn't care. So JiHan used his fire power on her, deciding to punish her since she wouldn't reflect on her actions. The room lit up brightly. Later, in the parking lot, Seiya worried about what happened at the gift hall with Hisu. She was glad they got revenge but concerned because Hisu's family owned a top media company. JiHan reassured Seiya not to worry. He explained that a big media company wouldn't act hastily and that it didn't make sense for the whole conglomerate to follow the CEO's granddaughter's whims. He believed they wouldn't touch a player in the spotlight. Seiya was surprised by her uncle's confidence and calmness. Jihan asked about Seiya's gift. She sadly replied that it was an F-rank gift called Late Bloomer. Jihan said he already expected this and then showed her his status window for the first time. Seiya was shocked to see that Jihan also had an F-rank gift, which allowed him to analyze other players well. She was amazed by how strong her uncle was despite his F-rank gift. Jihan asked her to look again, and she saw martial power and force stats. She asked if these were really BattleNet stats. Jihan explained that these were unique stats with secret unlock conditions that most people didn't know about. He told her that the rank of her gift wasn't everything. Jihan encouraged Seiya, saying she would get unique stats too. He then gave her a present that would reveal the path to her future. Jihan knew about a super strong player from China named Xian Yuhua. She had a special ability that got stronger over time, just like Seiya's. Jihan couldn't believe it at first. Seiya's weak ability was actually amazing. Seiya tried a gift from Jihan and was surprised that it could become even stronger. It turned out to be a special hidden item. Jihan gave Seiya the gift for her birthday. With this item, Seiya's training would be twice as effective. Seiya was happy and excited. Jihan told her she could become a super strong player with this gift. Seiya was so shocked she started to cry. Jihan comforted her and promised to get her the best gift ever. Seiya had a tough life. Her dad left her, and people were mean to her because of it. Jihan knew Seiya probably wanted to be known for her own skills, not just as the abandoned daughter of the Sword King. Jihan guessed Seiya was worried about getting a bad gift, so he gave her a special handkerchief. He let her cry as much as she needed because life had been hard for her. Seiya decided she wouldn't cry anymore. She wouldn't even have time to cry. She thought to herself, Uncle Jihan is amazing. It's like he can see the future. Jihan just smiled and said he was lucky. Seiya is feeling better and hungry. Jihan promises to cook her a delicious meal, making her happy and relaxed. Meanwhile, Hisu is having a meltdown. She's completely bald after her hair-burning incident and blames Jihan for it. When her driver arrives with CCTV footage, Hisu sees something that makes her even more upset. In the footage, Seiya appears sad and lonely. Hisu sees this as a weapon to destroy Seiya's reputation by sharing it with the media. Blinded by anger, Hisu doesn't realize this is a bad move. In the next scene, the Golden streamer is thinking about how he spent many days thinking deeply after the person he admired rejected him. Viewers commenting on Jihan's stream notice the Golden streamer. He saves Jihan from an evil and bad-tempered flame magician and some cowardly members of the Eagles Guild. He's been meddling with anyone who tries to bother Jihan. Now, he realizes his destiny is to become Jihan's manager. He begs Jihan to read his messages. Meanwhile, Jihan in the game kills a red blood zombie using his phoenix spear. He single-handedly takes care of all the zombies while his teammates relax and eat popcorn on the tower. Using his swift footwork and nameless divine arts, Jihan defeats the zombies, and the game ends with him in first place again. Now Jihan has reached level 25 and can participate in the promotion match for the Silver League. Having finished first in the Bronze League, Jihan earns the title Ruler of Bronze and qualifies for the top 100 promotion match. His match is scheduled for August 25th. The top 100 global players in each league battle each other in the promotion match. Anyone who qualifies is guaranteed a promotion. But there's a special twist. The promotion match is a survival game where only one player can win and claim the top spot. It's a stage where the best player reigns supreme until the end. Jihan anticipated his promotion into the top 100 and expected to encounter Baron Williams, the top global bronze player from America first. He thought he'd meet Baron sooner in this life than he did before, but not this soon. JiHan worried about losing to Baron because he'd never managed to defeat him in his previous life. The key factor in JiHan's rise to the top 100 was likely his unique stat, force. Martial prowess was also significant, but before unlocking the nameless divine arts, it merely combined strength, vitality, and agility. The abilities like absolute domain, magic power fortification, and telekinesis couldn't compare to force, a power transcending reality. However, its effectiveness varied depending on the user. Baron's force was on an entirely different level, combining divine and magical power. From the outset, Baron possessed incredible magical prowess, enabling him to wield force at least twice as potent as JiHan's. Even with superior control, JiHan's abilities paled against Baron's sheer power. Ultimately, Baron ascended to the world's top rank through raw strength, despite his lack of finesse. JiHan trained rigorously, performing one-handed push-ups and other exercises to enhance his body. He knew he couldn't rely on luck alone to become the best. Even when Baron started in bronze, his magical prowess was legendary, comparable to that of diamond-tier players. While their abilities might be similar, trying to outmatch Baron in his specialty would be suicidal. Therefore, JiHan aimed to unlock the nameless divine arts. As he observed Baron, he couldn't believe this was the same person from his past life, now younger, yet unmistakably the same individual. Suddenly, Lady Li, the director of Twin Star Guild, called JiHan and asked him for another betting option. JiHan was surprised by her request. The next morning, Lady Li's female bodyguard called to escort JiHan to a meeting. Lady Li made him wait an extra 5 minutes, leaving her bodyguard curious about the delay. Lady Li had actually asked JiHan for some betting picks that morning, which surprised her bodyguard, who commented on JiHan's audacity. Lady Li told her bodyguard to be more polite and remarked on how much losing money hurt. Her bodyguard then asked what JiHan had said. Lady Li explained that JiHan had told her that despite facing tough competition, including the USA superstar Baron in the upcoming Global Top 100, she should bet on JiHan to come in first. Her bodyguard marveled at JiHan's confidence. Lady Li understood JiHan's reasoning, but her bodyguard wondered how JiHan could defeat someone who flew around and bombarded everything. Lady Li found herself thinking the same thing as her bodyguard. Despite being shaken by JiHan's accurate prediction of the Korea-Japan match, Lady Li decided to stick with her original plan to bet on Baron. Strangely, her bodyguard strongly felt the opposite. Lady Li asked her bodyguard what she was doing and whether she was achieving good results on BattleNet, as she had been putting in a lot of effort recently. However, her bodyguard seemed dissatisfied and hinted that there was something she wanted to discuss, but her hand was injured, so she asked for a favor instead. In the next scene, JiHan was examining his status window. He had met all the conditions, increasing his martial power to level 30, and his Wanderer's Eye had been activated. The Constellation, Wandering Martial God, had sensed JiHan through his fragment. Everything appeared dark, but JiHan could feel its presence, reminiscent of when he had regressed before. The Wandering Martial God was watching JiHan, and they had finally reunited. The god recognized JiHan as his successor, having helped him greatly in his past life. The skill, Nameless Divine Arts, was being passed on to JiHan. Normally, support from a constellation came at a high price, but the Wandering Martial God had never asked anything of JiHan. Basic martial arts like 3 talents and footwork techniques like Lightning Thunder Step were being registered. Just as JiHan needed to reach 30 in martial power, the connection abruptly ended. The Wandering Martial God realized that JiHan had already unlocked the 3 elixir fields and became cautious of him. JiHan couldn't understand why such a powerful being in BattleNet would be concerned about this. Suddenly, the Wandering Martial God canceled the transfer of his martial arts and retrieved his fragment from JiHan. JiHan experienced intense pain and found himself back in his room. Checking his status window, JiHan saw that he had been ranked 7th in the world before his regression. He had faced a disaster just before the top 100 match and lost his special abilities. Seiya dropped out of the academy, and JiHan cheered her up. Now Seiya felt happy and relaxed. JiHan and Seiya went back home. Seiya was happier and felt much better than before. After her awakening, Seiya decided to leave the academy. It was common for students to drop out after awakening, since they went there to get their gifts in the first place. With JiHan planning to train Seiya himself, they decided there was no point in her staying at the academy. The biggest issue now was JiHan. Tomorrow was the top 100 game, and JiHan was uncertain. He had lost his Wanderer's Eye and hadn't fully mastered the nameless divine arts, which were S-rank instead of SSS. He only had 3 talents and lightning thunderstep, which annoyed him. Seiya noticed JiHan's troubled expression. Seiya wondered if JiHan was in a bad mood because of the upcoming promotion match. JiHan was more worried about his future. Seiya cheered him up, confident he would find a solution and win, as she always believed in her uncle. She wanted to bet on JiHan's victory, but JiHan disagreed and discouraged her from gambling. Seiya reminded JiHan that he used to gamble, so why couldn't she? JiHan explained that gambling wasn't for kids. She didn't believe him and ignored his advice. JiHan suddenly smiled, and his left eye flashed with lightning. That night, JiHan meditated in the playground, feeling the sensation in his left eye. He tried to eliminate the energy causing it, locating it precisely before destroying it. His left eye hurt and felt like it would explode. Suddenly, a message appeared, saying JiHan had successfully removed the remnants of the wandering martial god. JiHan was now free from the Constellation's control, surprised and confused. He could now receive support from other constellations, realizing the wandering martial god had been a parasite, not the benefactor he thought. JiHan felt relaxed, though it was hard to believe the wandering martial god was actually a parasite. Now wary of JiHan, the wandering martial god had hidden his traces. JiHan wondered about this so-called wandering martial god, realizing there was still much he didn't know. With the wandering martial god's strength gone, JiHan decided to find other constellations. He also received an epic quest to find the Shadow Queen, which offered a 50,000-point reward. JiHan wanted the Shadow Queen to become his constellation but was unsure what to do next. Fireworks exploded in the sky as the top 100 bronze promotion match began. The game would last until only one player remained. JiHan stood surrounded by many players, holding his phoenix spear. JiHan declared he had no intention of facing them one by one, challenging them all at once. The players attacked JiHan, who used his spear to defeat 2 of them. As more players attacked, JiHan defended himself. Suddenly, someone shot magic at JiHan from behind while he was facing another player. JiHan used his force to maintain his spear and dodged the magic, which hit and killed his opponent. JiHan ran towards the mage player, surprising him. Before the mage could react, JiHan punched him to the ground. JiHan only had to worry about Baron now. Suddenly, someone swung a sword at his face. JiHan blocked the attack and looked back. It was Lady Li's bodyguard, Gaeong. He wondered why she was here. When people got used to the fact that dying in the game meant death in real life, the final match of the East Asian League took place. Japan's representative was the Sword King. Korea didn't have anyone capable of competing against him, and the Korean rankers, fearing death, avoided joining the team. In that desperate situation, a candidate for the Sword King's successor rose to the challenge, Lady Li's bodyguard, Gaeong. But now, she was attacking JiHan in the game. JiHan wondered why she was here, as she had never been part of the top 100 match before. She kept using her sword techniques to attack JiHan. He dodged every attack, wondering how the future had changed. Then, JiHan blocked Gaeong's attack with hand-to-hand combat, and used his lightning thunder step power to kick her. With some distance between them, JiHan picked up his spear and attacked Gaeong. She stepped back and dodged, causing JiHan to crash into the ground. JiHan wondered why she was so strong. She stepped forward and attacked JiHan again. She forced him back, using her sword techniques, and JiHan defended against all her attacks. He was surprised by how much stronger she was compared to the last time he saw her. Her movements were far more efficient, each swing had weight, and her steps were lighter. She attacked again and again. JiHan wondered what had happened to her. Reflecting back, Gaeong had been talking with Lady Li. Lady Li asked why Gaeong was trying so hard recently. Gaeong replied that she had entered the top 100 bronze match. Lady Li was surprised and learned that Gaeong had already reached level 25. Gaeong had been finishing first in every match except when she faced JiHan. Lady Li cheered her on. Gaeong asked Lady Li for a favor, a new sword. Her current sword, given to her by Lady Li when she joined the guild, was too heavy and had been hurting her hand. She apologized for speaking ill of it. Lady Li was shocked by Gaeong's words and feelings about the sword. She wondered why Gaeong had waited so long to say something. The sword had been blocking Gaeong's progress. Lady Li shouted that she could use her own money to buy a new sword for Gaeong. Gaeong replied that Lady Li had blown all her money gambling, so how could she afford a new sword? Lady Li was shocked and made a phone call to get a new sword for Gaeong, telling her to show the world that she was from the Twin Star Guild and to prove she could beat JiHan. Lady Li cheered her on. Gaeong smiled and promised to win the top 100 match. In the match, JiHan pushed Gaeong back with his Phoenix Spear. She blocked his attack, but in the second strike, JiHan hit her face with the spear. They both knew she couldn't beat him, but she was trying her best. If she avoided him and faced weaker opponents, she could survive longer. JiHan wondered why she was so persistent. Gaeong told JiHan she knew she couldn't beat him now and might never be able to, but if she backed off, it would be the end. She would do her best to follow as closely as possible. She used her ultimate sword technique. JiHan, remembering his past life, knew she always did her best in the name of advancement, even if she couldn't beat her opponent. Though she had died to the Sword King in his past life, she had managed to join the top 100 through her own effort this time. JiHan was curious about how much his regression would change her future. This confirmed it. JiHan thought and smiled. Now, Gaeong was ready to use her ultimate skill, Plum Blossom Storm. She attacked JiHan with full speed. JiHan had the perfect technique to counter her attack. He fought back and destroyed her ultimate technique using Thousand Soldier Sweep. Clark Jr., the USA Bronze League Rank 3 player, and his group decided to attack Baron Williams, the top American player. The game would last until there was only one survivor. It was 4 against 1. Clark mocked Baron, calling him a coward for giving buffs from the back line, and claimed he would show the difference between them today. Baron interrupted Clark's speech, saying Clark talked too much for someone who couldn't approach without his minions. Baron challenged them all to come at him together. Baron was the number 1 player in the USA Bronze League. He vowed to burn them all down. As the players charged at him, Baron grabbed the first player's face and exploded him with his force and magic power, causing a chain reaction that killed the other 3 players behind him. More players came at Baron, but he laughed and challenged them all. He killed them like bugs using his force power, showing his unmatched strength and arrogance. Meanwhile, Baron noticed JiHan fighting another player and was surprised by his skill. Baron approached JiHan and asked if he was the undefeated JiHan. JiHan corrected him, saying he was JiHan, not JiHan. Baron laughed, mocking JiHan by mispronouncing his name again, then threw his force power at him, sending JiHan flying. Surprised, Baron was about to speak when JiHan used his lightning thunder step to quickly attack him. Baron dodged and flew into the air, readying his force power. JiHan jumped up and attacked again, but Baron dodged all his attacks and unleashed a powerful force blast at JiHan, knocking him to his knees. Other players watched in fear as Baron and JiHan fought. Baron used his force power to cover the entire arena, killing all the other players. The area was filled with fire and force, and Baron laughed loudly. But then, he was shocked to see lightning coming from JiHan, who was erasing all of Baron's force power with his Phoenix Spear using the 1,000-soldier sweep technique. Thanks to Baron's force power, JiHan was able to get easy kills with his wide-area spear swings, achieving a pentakill and taking first place with 20 kills. Baron was astonished that JiHan had survived his powerful attack. He combined fire and force, but they couldn't reach JiHan, who was also using force to cover himself. Baron couldn't believe it, as he thought force was a power only he could use thanks to his 2 status windows. JiHan mocked Baron, saying force wasn't exclusive to him and calling him pathetic and unskilled. Furious, Baron exploded his force power at JiHan and attacked him, calling JiHan a bug and accusing him of cheap imitation. He unleashed his full power on JiHan. JiHan, however, had a plan. Last night at the playground, while checking his status window, he had found a crystal fragment among his items. He decided to use this crystal fragment against Baron. In the current game arena, Baron is flying in the air, using his force and firepower against JiHan. But JiHan has a secret weapon, a crystal fragment that boosts his stats by 50%. JiHan is ready to crush Baron. Back in the day, Baron was a coward. He was thin, shy, and afraid of fighting. People said his gift was wasted on him. Despite having 2 status windows and 2 classes, Baron chose support and mage to stay back and help others. Everything changed when he obtained force. With his overwhelming magic power, he began to dominate opponents. Many promising players crumbled before him, and everyone who lost to Baron knew about his 2 trump cards. The first was Fire Wave, a huge tsunami of fire that wiped out everyone in front of him. No one had survived it before, until now. JiHan destroyed Baron's Fire Wave with his Phoenix Spear Strike. Baron was shocked by JiHan's attack. JiHan mocked Baron, saying his attack looked impressive but was hollow inside. JiHan then jumped up and struck Baron, knocking him to the ground. As Baron lay on the ground, he was surprised that JiHan seemed to know everything about him. JiHan said Baron reminded him of someone. Even though Baron tried to act confident, JiHan knew he had an inferiority complex. Baron hated being looked down on, so he trained his body and made his skills look fancier. But JiHan told him that without true essence, it was all pointless. Baron didn't like JiHan's arrogant attitude, and JiHan just smiled. JiHan used his lightning thunder step to attack Baron, but Baron countered with his secret lightning technique, sending JiHan flying back even though he tried to block with his spear. Baron's second trump card, Lightning, condensed his power to pierce a target. It relied on brute strength, perfect for Baron. Now, Baron seemed to have the advantage. It was hard to believe he was perfectly fine after JiHan's attack. JiHan blocked the lightning strike with his spear. Baron was impressed by JiHan's adaptability. He prepared to use lightning again, this time with everything he had. Other players watched in awe, thinking JiHan couldn't defeat Baron and would die. But JiHan was confident he would win because the Shadow Queen was watching. She only focused on the winner, and her eyes were on him. JiHan took his stance, ready to strike with his spear. Baron was surprised to see JiHan stand. Before Baron could use his lightning, JiHan struck with his spear, killing Baron. Baron wasn't JiHan's true target. JiHan aimed for something grander, the Shadow Queen. His spear broke through the barrier, marking the first time in BattleNet history that the Colosseum's barrier was destroyed. In South Korea, JiHan, hailed as their most promising player, is launching an assault on Baron, America's top contender. JiHan is pushing back Baron, who was once thought unbeatable. Lady Li watches in shock as JiHan fiercely battles Baron. She had staked everything on Baron winning. She can't believe how JiHan is defeating Baron like this. She shouts in disbelief, realizing she's lost everything she'd earned last time. Guiyang joins Lady Li, admitting she's disappointed by her loss to JiHan. Lady Li encourages Guiyang not to be disheartened, reminding her that everyone starts off losing sometimes. Guiyang listens quietly to Lady Li's words. Lady Li smiles at her bodyguard, and Guiyang's mood brightens a little. It's as if a weight has lifted off her shoulders. The promotional match has shown her how much she's grown. Now, she feels confident about facing JiHan and is determined to keep improving. Suddenly, Lady Li notices something on her phone and watches JiHan and Baron's intense fight. Baron watches a replay of JiHan's attack, where JiHan breaks through Baron's defenses effortlessly. Baron is furious at being defeated by JiHan, especially since JiHan wasn't even targeting him directly. During the match, JiHan breaks through the barrier using his Phoenix Spear. After retrieving his Phoenix Spear, JiHan addresses the Shadow Queen with a smile, saying, "Long time no see." The Shadow Queen casts her dark shadows around her, causing the arena to tremble with overwhelming shadow energy, all eyes fixed on JiHan. Then, the live broadcast suddenly cuts out, leaving viewers unable to watch the match any longer. Xiao worries about her uncle JiHan, surrounded by the ominous darkness of the Shadow Queen. The air grows cold and heavy, making it hard to breathe. JiHan senses the Shadow Queen is aware of him. He realizes he hasn't yet fulfilled the epic quest to find and provoke her. JiHan struck his spear with the Sage's Guidance technique at the Shadow Queen, but she effortlessly absorbed the blow. He was stunned that such a powerful attack had no effect. Suddenly, shadows materialized behind JiHan. He swung at the shadow, but it felt like punching air. Shadows emerged in front of all the players and launched deadly assaults. JiHan deftly blocked their attacks, trying to make sense of the situation. Physical blows were useless against the shadow soldiers. So, JiHan channeled divine power against them. He noticed his attacks did little, but wherever his light touched, the shadows weakened. Shadows rose from the ground, grabbing JiHan's leg, while another descended from above. Remembering battles with zombies, JiHan used his lightning thunder step to emit lightning around him, keeping the shadows at bay. They feared the lightning, keeping their distance. Surrounded by light, JiHan seemed safe, but a colossal shadow soldier loomed above, aiming a massive sword at him. JiHan was taken aback. Was this too much? In the world of BattleNet, players used connectors to reduce pain, crucial for enduring injuries in battles. Most top players used models reducing pain by over 90%, allowing them to game boldly without fear. Yet, JiHan avoided using a connector. He knew BattleNet would soon become reality, where risking one's life would be unavoidable. Connectors would then become obsolete. Despite his skin burning and millions of volts coursing through him, JiHan endured pain beyond imagination. The massive shadow soldier swung its colossal sword at JiHan, who narrowly dodged. The sheer force could cleave through anything over 10 meters tall. Other players watched in confusion. Why was the shadow soldier solely targeting JiHan? With each swing, JiHan struggled against the overwhelming might. He feared he might perish without making a dent. It wasn't just one shadow soldier, but several players targeting him now, seizing the opportunity after his victory over Baron. Realizing escape was futile, JiHan resolved to confront them head-on, channeling his magical and physical strength. He unleashed flames and magic, engulfing the shadow soldier in blazing light. The arena trembled with JiHan's power, shocking and terrifying the other players. With a surge of fire and magic, JiHan obliterated the massive shadow soldier. He then unleashed the Mount Tai Crush technique, assaulting the remaining enemies. Other players scattered, fleeing from JiHan's relentless onslaught. Finally, only the Shadow Queen remained, the ultimate challenge Jihan had to face. Surrounded by shadows, Jihan knew this wouldn't end until he confronted the main threat. He invoked the 3 exclusion fields, boosting his power as if recreating the 3 talents without the nameless divine arts. Drawing upon the power of the Phoenix Arrow, associated with divine lightning, Jihan prepared to purify the darkness with light. The wrath of the gods used in ancient times to punish and cleanse. As he unleashed his lightning, a warning flashed. Jihan was pushing beyond his limits, risking his life. Undeterred, he summoned the Thunder God's martial arts, casting heavenly lightning technique. Thunderclap lightning, aiming directly at the Shadow Queen. Jihan used his powerful Thunderclap lightning technique, a move on a completely different level. Even though he wasn't the strongest, he made up for it with his Phoenix Arrow, another unique skill. However, he could only use 80% of Thunderclap lightning's true power. This technique was supposed to merge multiple lightning bolts into one, but Jihan's version didn't fully combine, trailing behind the Phoenix Arrow. He shot the Phoenix Arrow at the Shadow Queen, and it hit her. She focused on the arrow, stopping it mid-air and neutralizing its power. Jihan then revealed the Shadow Queen's face and managed to strike her cheek with a bit of lightning, which made her both shocked and furious. Jihan smiled, feeling his job was done, but his right hand was burned from the intense lightning. Jihan felt lucky because the delayed lightning turned into a 2-stage attack. He hadn't anticipated that the roughness of his technique would create such an unexpected twist. This was all he had, but it was enough to provoke the Shadow Queen. His mission was complete, but the Shadow Queen's expression turned strange as she unleashed her full power against him. She attacked relentlessly, and Jihan, with his injured hand, struggled to block her fast strikes. He got hit and saw that other players were captured by the Shadow Queen. Instead of killing them, she restrained them. Jihan didn't know her plan but realized she was trying to stop him from finishing first. He tried to use his lightning thunder step to escape, but it didn't work. The Shadow Queen targeted him with a massive shadow sword, aiming for a slow, painful death. As she smiled, Jihan knew he would lose his top position if this continued. But he could still move his fingers and used his force power to kill the other players, securing first place. The Shadow Queen was shocked by his move. As Jihan prepared to log out, the Shadow Queen, furious, slashed at him with her giant sword, but he narrowly dodged, though his hand was cut. He told her that once the game ends, Battle.net's influence would wane, affecting her too. The game ended, and Jihan logged out, telling the Shadow Queen they'd meet again. She was left alone, fuming. A warning message appeared. Sun Shadow has entered Jihan's left arm. Jihan arrived at his apartment and collapsed onto the floor, exhausted from the intense game. The series of battles, first with Gaeong, then Baron, and finally the Shadow Queen, had been too much. He was still on edge, knowing that if he had been any slower, it could have ended right there. Before the Shadow Queen's sword could strike him, Jihan had used his force power with just his fingers to sever the heart vessels of the remaining players. Considering how powerful his opponent was, he feared he might not be able to pull it off. Thankfully, the Shadow Queen hadn't realized what he was doing until it was too late. Jihan was relieved that the damage was limited to just his left arm. He preferred that over feeling the pain of his entire body being crushed and exploding. He didn't want to take such a gamble again. Checking his status window, he saw he had gained a lot. He was now in the top 100 and had earned 1 million GP as a reward. His level had increased by 5. To his surprise, he received the title King of Kings, Bronze, awarded for winning and placing in the top 100 promotion match. All his stats increased by 5 while in the Silver League, and his experience points would increase by 50%. With this, Jihan could grow even faster. He checked his achievements and found he had gained special achievement points, 10,000 and 50,000 points for finishing first without a gift. Now, he had 60,000 points. Losing the support of the martial god ended up working in his favor. JiHan felt happy, but suddenly noticed something wrong with his left arm. The left sleeve of his shirt was cut, but it was a perfectly normal shirt. He realized it was influenced by Battle.net and his fight with the Shadow Queen. In the game, the Shadow Queen had cut his left hand. But JiHan thought he was still in the tutorial. How was this possible? He wondered if it was because the constellations were on a whole other level. He had no wounds, but he was puzzled by what was happening. Just then, Saya entered the room, asking if he was okay. The stream had suddenly cut off, and she was worried. JiHan was surprised the stream had been interrupted. Saya explained that the stream went down as soon as JiHan broke the barrier of the stadium. This incident was all over the community boards and news. JiHan checked his phone and saw that everyone was surprised because nothing like this had ever happened before. He agreed with what Saya said. Saya then asked if her prediction about the Shadow Queen was correct. JiHan answered yes and thanked her, saying it was thanks to her that he cleared the quest. Saya was happy and excited that her analysis and prediction were correct. But then she noticed something and asked what had happened to JiHan's left arm. JiHan tried to brush it off, saying it was nothing and that his sleeve was just cut. But Saya was shocked and shouted, rushing to check his left arm. To their horror, JiHan's left arm was dark with shadow. JiHan was equally stunned to see his arm in this state. Meanwhile, in Tokyo, Japan, leaders of the Japan Self-Defense Forces were discussing the accuracy of Takada's report and their need to recruit JiHan at any cost. However, they faced a problem. Money hadn't worked on JiHan. One member suggested using their special method. The leader objected, stating that the special method wasn't available because of the Sword King. If she went to South Korea, who would restrain the Sword King? The member assured the leader not to worry, explaining he had his own way to keep the Sword King in check and make JiHan fall. The leader was intrigued and surprised by this claim. At a helicopter port on top of a building, the Sword King watched a beautiful woman and asked where she was going and why she was leaving him. She confronted him, saying it wouldn't take long and that she'd return to him after the mission. Using her love power, she seduced and controlled his mind, telling him to wait for her while loving her just as always. The Sword King, completely under her control, accepted her command. She was Shizuru, known for her love power, but they called her Goddess. She was on a mission to recruit JiHan, just like she had controlled the Sword King. As she prepared to leave, she noted the clear weather, with not a single cloud in the sky. It seemed like the perfect day to go in search of someone. While back in JiHan's apartment, he was in shock, looking at his shadow-darkened left arm.